We should
try to
now
do
be
that.
actually broadcasting. Okay, so we're going to actually start off this session 2 of our Dungeon World campaign, and we're going to start off with Durkir, the Dwarven Cleric. So the reason I've concocted that your character wasn't here last session, Jay, is as everyone else is like getting their shit together and they're getting ready to like head out of the town to like deal with this boar creature that they eventually came across. As you're sort of getting ready to join them and like leave the town, you're approached by a muscular dwarf who is sort of like naked from the waist up. He's got all these like immaculate tattoos of flames covering his body, and as he moves, like the sort of motion of his like muscles makes the tattoos look like the flames sort of moving in the way that like natural fire would do. He's got sort of like the standard like troll slayer style hair, you know, like the bright pointed like orange hair, obviously dyed. You recognise him as the local sort of like high priest of Kovresh, who was sort of stood on top of this big celebratory bonfire the villagers of Gallenmead had like built in your honour. And as like the rest of your fellas were sort of like basically pissing about and getting ready to set out from the village, unfortunately Sanya sort of like tripped over one of the villagers who was like drunken from the revelries, and as he fell over, his hands went out in front of him, his sleeves rode up, and it revealed these like manacles he's got on his wrists and all these sort of horrible sort of like twisted tattoos he's got on his arms. The priest spotted them and sort of started jumping down from the bonfire, started making his way towards him, and he like couldn't push through the like crowd of like quite drunken like riotous villagers. And Sanya was pretty much like, oh, I appear to have left the oven on somewhere else. Does anyone smell gas? And they all sort of hot-footed it out of the village. As you're going to join them, however, the priest actually manages to catch up with you, and he puts a hand on your shoulder, not in a way of sort of like, I'm gonna smack you around the chops or anything like that, just in a way sort of like he obviously wants a word with you.
Okay. What do you want?
He says, "You're one of the heroes who came here with those 4 who've just left the village. That's correct, isn't it?"
Yes, absolutely correct.
My name is Grudoki Wraithfury. I'm the priest of Kovresh of Gallenmead. Might I know your name and what clan you hail from?
Well met. I am Durkir Hammerfall.
The Hammerfall clan, an honourable and renowned clan of dwarves. Your companion, the human with the tattoos, I've seen tattoos like those before. He bears the mark of the Blackfire prison colony. Only those who are guilty of the most horrendous crimes, whose souls have already been tainted and twisted by black deeds and foul doings, are sent to the Blackfire prison.
Really?
Indeed. They are branded with what we know amongst the faithful of Kovresh, and I'm sure you're aware of, as the consuming tattoos. These tattoos contain a power so great that eventually they consume the person they are etched onto and burn their souls. We believe that as they are forced to work to pay off their debt and their souls are eventually consumed, they are purified, returning them to the embrace of Kovresh upon their deaths. It concerns me that one of my fellow brothers of the stone, a member of a noble clan such as yours is, associating with such an obvious person of ill deeds and blackened reputation.
Associate is a very strong word, my friend. We have our little spats, but that whole story you told me, that explains a lot about his behaviour towards me. He doesn't really like Kovresh very much, shall we say, and he certainly doesn't appreciate my presence either.
He frowns at that and sort of takes half a step towards you, lowering his voice a bit so that only you can really hear it over the sounds of celebration that are going on behind you. And he says, "It is not normal for those who are branded with the consuming tattoos of the Black Fire to be able to leave the prison colony. They are made to work off their debts until the marks consume them. There is only one reason a person would be walking around bearing those marks that I can think of."
He escaped.
He nods.
Still, he did partially save my life earlier. He didn't have to.
Even demons may sometimes perform good deeds if they think it benefits their aims. Just because we cannot see the greater evil at work does not mean that it doesn't exist.
Well, let's say I've been keeping one eye on him. And I've certainly been trying to bring him back to the light a little. It's not really working at the moment.
I would advise you to keep both of your eyes on him.
Understood.
Since you are a priest of Kavresh, like myself, albeit of a junior rank, I will say nothing further of the matter and will trust it to your judgment. However, if you accept responsibility for being his warden, then should he give in to his previous evil ways before his marks consume him, I will hold you responsible as well.
That is indeed quite a burden, but I am willing to bear it. It is part of my test, I am sure, from Kavresh himself.
At which point he actually sort of smiles a bit and he claps you on the shoulder in a sort of friendly way and says, "It is good to see that those of the Hammerfall clan are still strong in these times when many clans have fallen into darkness and have faded from the pages of history. If you can retain wardenship of this person and keep them under control, I'm sure it will stand you in great stead in the eyes of Kavresh."
Indeed.
If he does fall into shadow, though, I will expect you to deal with the matter. Do I make myself clear?
Crystal clear.
Excellent. If you have any further need of me, I will be in the fortress praying for the soul of your friend and that Kavresh might grant him mercy.
I may pray with you a little if I still have time to do so.
Of course, please, there is a small shrine to the great Lord of the Flames in the fortress. Normally I'm the only one there, since these villagers, whilst respectful, are not the most devout, and they trust to me to lead them in their worship. It would be welcome to have a fellow brother of the stone pray alongside me in that holy place. Although the fire of worship is small in this village, it does burn brightly.
Well then, may our hearts be of stone, strong and resilient.
He nods and leads you off to this stone tower that sort of emerges from the centre of Ganymede, where, whilst the events of the previous session are going on, effectively yourself and Docky are sort of like purifying yourself and praising Kavresh, etc. Okay, so we're going to jump back to the very moment we left the last session. So we go to Rufus. So as you're sitting on guard for this like encampment of dwarves that you've met up with, and you're travelling back to Ganymede, you at the very last minute you hear like a soft footfall from behind you, but before you can react, a hand comes round your neck and like holds a knife to your throat, and you hear the familiar voice of O'Neill say, "Make one wrong move and I'll slit your throat." And he sort of presses the knife tip just a little bit into the soft skin of your neck, and just like you feel like a thin warm trickle of blood, a single drop run down your neck.
That's funny. The next time I expected to see you, O'Neill, that was the exact same thing I was going to say.
He sort of presses the knife in a little bit further. He's not like slitting your throat or anything. He's just like pressing it in so it's uncomfortable. Just like a soft, non-vital part of your neck. And you know that both you and he would know that he's not like causing you any serious wound at the minute. He says, "Without making a noise, I want you to reach into your pocket, White Raven. I want you to take out the piece of the map that I gave you earlier and hand it over to me. And I want you to give me the other pieces as well. I'm not going to have you find the book before I do."
Get it yourself. You've got me at a disadvantage.
Okay. Again, he presses the knife sort of further in. It's about an inch into your neck now. It's obviously very painful. You feel like blood running down a bit more freely. And he's like, don't play games with me, Raven. You don't have anything to bargain with. Give me the map.
All right. So, John, can I ask a quick question?
Of course you can.
This poison I've got, oil of Tadget, right? It's got applied in brackets. Does that mean I have to apply it to a weapon? Or can I like just apply it with a touch?
Since this is a potentially sort of very important thing, I'm actually going to look up this to make sure I get it right.
Just to see what options I have right at this particular
because
moment.
I don't want to tell you that like, oh yeah, it's fine. You can just like slap it on anything and then turn out you can't.
Okay.
Poisons. Okay, you could apply it with a touch, but obviously you would have to have like gloves on or something like that, and you have to touch like his bare skin. So you could certainly do that if you've got gloves on. You obviously couldn't put just your hand in unprotected because it'd affect you as well.
Do I have to have announced I've had gloves on beforehand?
I'm quite willing to assume that since this is a poison that you know how to use.
I mean, I am a rogue.
And you've asked that question, and you would know in character how you can apply it. I'm quite willing to assume that you are wearing gloves. That's fine.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my hand in my pocket where the map is, but just so happens that there's a vial of this oil in there as well.
Okay.
So like as I put my hand in, I just flip the topper off the oil and just pour a little bit onto the map piece.
Okay.
And then
now, in order to do this stealthily, this is going to be like because obviously you don't want him to know that's what you're doing, and he's a thief as well. I'm going to say you have to make a roll plus dex. This is basically your roll to see if you can do it without him realising you're up to something shady.
2d6 straight down the line. Right. Okay. Can you see that? So I got 9 on the die, and I get a +2 my dex, so 11.
Okay, yep, you pop the top off this oil of Tadget. Are you putting it on your hand, or are you putting it on the map?
On the map, just a bit.
Okay, you sort of, as you're sort of like pulling the map out, and obviously you're like rustling the map a bit, so it sounds like you're just getting the map. You just sort of gently tip over this jar, so like it soaks into the paper. Now, that may blur the ink slightly, but it shouldn't affect it too much. It's like a fairly sort of like sticky oil. So you've now got the map, but it's covered in this oil. What do you do?
Just hold it out to him.
Okay, you sort of hold it up and over your shoulder. He reaches out with his other hand, still keeping the knife on you. You can see that he's not wearing any gloves.
Be right back.
This is why I was the boss. I was the smart one.
He takes the map off you and he goes, "Now give me the rest of the map."
What makes you think I have more?
Of course you've got the rest of the map. Otherwise, why would you have killed the others?
I haven't killed anyone.
Don't lie to me, Raven. You all but admitted it when we were in the village.
I told you I hadn't killed anyone. Our issue was over. I had a chance to find you. You found me, remember?
Then if you didn't kill the other members of the group, who did?
Good question.
As far as I'm aware, you and me are the only ones left alive of the original team.
So you have the whole map?
No, whoever killed the others has the rest of the map. I took this piece and sorted you out. I thought, and you actually sort of see him like sway a little bit. I thought that you had killed them and taken the rest of the map and that you were coming for me. That's why I sorted you out, so I could deal with you first.
No point coming to kill you on my own.
He sort of staggers backwards like half a step, like you take 2 points of damage, just sort of like the as he staggers back, the knife like,
okay,
but it's only like 2 points of damage. He staggers back, and then you see him like look at the map. His eyes are like going out of focus and hazy. He's swaying as he sort of you see realization dawning in his eyes as to what you've done, as he sort of like sees this sticky residue on the map. He opens his mouth to say something, perhaps to like curse you or to maybe to shout for some help, you're not sure, but all that comes out is like a strangled sort of like, and then he falls backwards to the ground with like a loud. His hands still sort of like clutching the map. Is almost as though like his limbs are like locked in place. You see his eyes are like still open, and he's staring up at the sky. His mouth hanging open, a thin dribble of like foam running out of the corner of his mouth. At this point, I'm going to ask everyone else who's in the camp, which is obviously Rufus, Glog, and I know you're not technically in the camp, Milo, but you're in the area. I'm going to ask you guys, if you can, please make me a wisdom roll, so 2d6 plus wisdom.
A question. Don't you ask me a question at the beginning of each session? It's a barbarian thing.
I do. I'm just going to resolve this, and then I'm going to ask you that question.
No problem. Yep. Oh, it's 2d6.
Double ones. Oh, yeah.
I fail.
Okay, so
Oh, awesome.
Sanya, you're obviously exhausted from the previous day's exertions. You're curled up near that sweet, sweet campfire, getting all that warm goodness and enjoying a well-deserved rest. Milo, you're obviously quite tired yourself. You spent all day dodging like crazy mofos who like insist on setting fire to stuff and like trying to keep your like druid ass out of the way of it. You're just so relieved to have like finally found somewhere where like, everything's not on fire that you've fallen into a deep slumber. Glog, however, you're obviously used to like having to wake up in a hurry. You know, you camp out in the wilderness, there's beasts everywhere, etc. You wake up as you hear this like thump from just outside the tent that you're in, that you're sharing with the dwarven woman.
So I roll over and in one motion, like I pick up my axe and then I'm on my feet.
Okay, as you roll over, the dwarven woman whose bed you're sharing at the moment, who has introduced herself to you during the course of the evening's proceeding as Dowdwarika Amberblade, or Dowd for short. She also obviously wakes up. You can see that she's like a sort of a practiced warrior herself, and as you sort of roll out and grab your axe, likewise she sort of jumps out of bed and grabs a small sword and follows you out.
Okay, so I'm going to hold my hand up to my lips and do this, right? So I'm going to say at this point I'm probably just wearing a loincloth, if that.
Oh God, get dressed.
Likewise, she's effectively.
I want to see what it is first.
She's effectively just like swished like the sort of like the hide that was the fur that was serving as like your blanket around her sort of waist, pretty much. And she nods as you hold a finger to your lips and follows you out.
Doesn't he normal just wear a loincloth though?
No, I have like hide. It's of a critter I killed that I would wear most times. It still shows a lot of skin, like it's kind of like one shoulder and across the chest kind of hide. Anyway, I go outside and to see if I can determine the source of this thump.
Okay, you head outside and you can see your friend Rufus there. He's got a small sort of very minor like wound on his neck that's bled a little. And behind him, sort of must have crept up behind him, is a man lying on the ground like a piece of paper clutched in his hand. And he's sort of like twitching a little bit, and there's like foam dribbling out the corner of his mouth as this stranger who you don't know, a human, is just like lying on the floor.
You'll see Rufus tapping the guy's like boot just to see if he's
Rufus is obviously just like prodding him, and this guy's just like twitching a little bit. He's not responding. You can see like his hands sort of spasmed into like a fist, sort of like screwing up this piece of paper he's holding. His
Nice. I tell Dowd, I put my arm like lower your weapon kind of thing. So I'm gonna lower my axe. I just walk up to him, to Rufus.
Okay, so Rufus, as you sort of hear these footfalls, you look up and you see Glog basically wearing a loincloth and holding his axe. And there's this dwarven woman who you recognise as like one of the warriors of this dwarven encampment, with basically just like a fur sort of thrown over her, holding a sword that she's just actually like sort of holding downwards, so it's obviously not in like a combat stance, and she's following just behind.
Glog being the massive human.
Say with my axe. So I just say, what happened?
An old friend tried to mug me, Glog. A professional hazard, I guess we'll call it. Interesting though. He thought I killed his friends, my old friends. And I'm like, I'm getting the map off him, and I'm like, sort of trying to like dry it out in the grass, like get the oil off it a bit.
Okay, it takes you a little while because you literally have to like prise his fingers off the map, but you can do it. It's not a problem. Obviously, you've got gloves on. You can see that like from your professional opinion, the oil that was placed on there will have been like absorbed into his skin, so there's no one else going to be in danger of like grabbing the map and like keeling over because you're an expert. You know how to deal with this shit.
Yeah, I don't even want to knock Lag out. That would be
exactly. So you prise his fingers open. He's just like still lying there, like twitching. This foam sort of bubbling up to his lips. Although he's spasming, steadily getting like less and less as like the poison's taking its toll and like finishing him off.
I turn to Lag as I'm doing it. This is one of the cowards that left me to die before. He seems to think I've killed our old crew.
Did you?
Not yet. I mean, my intention was to find him and get payback, but
the dwarfen woman who's behind Glog says, "Do we need to get him back to Gallonmeat and get the apothecary to have a look at him?"
Should be all right in a while. It was not deadly. Only a mild dose of a poison I had.
She nods. She looks a little bit concerned, but nods.
It's fine. To Rufus, I say, maybe so she can't hear. Just to clean up the body when you're done with it. No need of the people asking questions. I go back to my tent. Yeah.
Okay, you can see that this Dadwarika, this dwarf woman, sort of takes a step to follow Glog back to her tent, but then she sort of stops, pauses a bit, looks back at you, Rufus, and says, "Are you sure you don't need any help? Do I need to wake the rest of the camp?"
He's fine. He's fine.
She nods and then follows Glog back off to this sort of hide tent that they've been in.
I'll spend a little while searching this guy, checking through his pockets and stuff.
Okay,
because they aren't the smartest bunch of thieves, and the idea that they turned on me of their own accord seems a little bit naive.
Okay,
Rufus.
you find he's got an assortment of daggers. He's also got like effectively like a long spool of wire, like a garrote, secreted about this person. He's also got a set of like lockpicks, i.e. thieves' tools, on him.
I shall take all of those things, thank you, John.
Not a problem. You have 5 knives, a set of thieves' tools, and a garrote. Feel free to note them on your character sheet.
Yeah! I'm not turning into a murder hobo. I'm just...
Yeah, whenever helps you sleep at night, man. Okay, so what do you do then?
That is the question, isn't it? It's somewhat of a mystery. I'm going to have a look at the map now that I'm on my own as well. I'll just have a little glance at it.
Okay, you pick it up and it looks very much as though, as you remember it from previously, you guys call it a map, but it's not like a sort of normal like land map. It just seems to be like a strange series of bisecting lines that crisscross over each other. You guys could never work out what it actually meant, but since it was owned by a wizard, you thought, well, it's bound to be worth something, and that's why you like half-inched it. And then you decided that like in case you got caught when you like originally like split up so like the guard can't get us, you divided the map between you all. Now your piece was obviously taken when you were sort of taken to the prison by one of your fellows. It's not the piece that you have now, but you know that O'Neill seemed to be under the impression that you'd killed off all the rest of the people, presumably to like grab their pieces and put the map back together. And he mentioned something about a book. That's something you don't know anything about.
Right. So, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the body into the forest a little ways.
Okay.
I'm going to use a little bit of rope. I'm going to tie him to the tree.
Okay.
And I'm going to leave him a note. Just basically says, twice I've let you live, the third time I will not.
Nice.
I do not have your map pieces.
Apart from the one I've just like half-inched off you.
But if whoever does have the pieces comes your way, tell them Rufus has a piece. I would very much like to meet them.
Okay, you pretty much like took that in his like lapel effectively, and you leave him tied up. You've picked somewhere like far into the forest, so like even if he shouts, no one at the camp will hear him. And you start heading back to the camp. As you're heading back to the camp, Milo, you're asleep, dreaming. What sort of form are you sleeping in? Are you sleeping as a fox?
Badger.
It's a fox.
Okay, not a problem at all. Okay, as you're as you're sleeping in your fox form, you're getting the most peaceful night's sleep you've had in a long time, because partly due to the absence of fire. As you're sleeping and you're dreaming, you have this dream where you're stood once again in the boughs of the Black Forest, the single tree that encompasses the whole forest stretches around you, and you feel once more at home and comfortable as you're surrounded on all sides by this living energy. There's a gentle breeze blowing through the trees, and as the leaves are sort of stirred, you hear this whispered voice amongst the leaves going, "That's all. That's all."
Okay, I couldn't hear that. I'm sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. It's the leaves and the wind in the trees basically whispering your character's name, Thistle.
Okay. Does he wake up from this?
No, you're still in this dream. You can hear the creaking of the trees all around you, and almost without you thinking about it, your legs take you deeper and deeper into the heart of the forest, until rising up ahead of you is this huge tree with black bark and leaves almost spreading so wide it almost seems to blot out the starlight above you in the night sky. You recognise what people outside the forest call the Tree of Visions. It's a sacred tree to you druids, and your kind spend a lot of time trying to dissuade other people from coming to the forest to try and, as far as you're concerned, sort of hijack the holy visions that this tree gives, because they're obviously only meant for people who understand the land and its pain, its suffering, and the cycle of rebirth. It's not meant for any just Tom, Dick, or Harry to come running up, touch it, and be like, "Oh, I want to have a vision."
Well, not only that, but humans tend to bring fire where they go.
Indeed, very true. And as you sort of look at this tree, you can see that the way the bark is, it's almost as though there's a face sort of formed by the knots and the twists of this tree. And as you hear your name being called again, it sounds for now as though your name's emerging from the tree, as though it's somehow calling to you.
Okay. Somewhat perplexed, you will move even closer to the tree, and yeah, his ears will perk up, kind of like when a cat turns its ears to better listen, and he will stand still, and then he'll move, kind of shift his head to the other side, and the ears will perk up, and he will listen again and move closer.
Okay, as you move closer, a voice that sounds like the creaking of timbers and the shifting of roots beneath the soil says to you, "Thistle, the land is dying."
Okay, so this black tree has always been black, right?
Indeed. As far as your people are concerned, although the forest is one organism, the certain trees and sort of places that act as focal points for the natural energies of the Black Forest, and this tree is the most powerful of those places, and that's why those who are sort of have a deeper connection to the sort of natural energy flow of the land, when they make physical contact with the tree, they often have these visions, because it's people don't understand how the natural energy flows and the ley lines work, so their mind interprets what they experience as these weird sort of visions.
Who go closer to the tree, kind of lower his head, and tucks in between the roots.
Okay, are you touching the tree, or?
Yeah, he goes in between the the roots of the tree.
Okay, as you sort of nestle amongst the roots of this great tree, and you touch the roots of the tree, you are suddenly standing as though you're sort of like your dream originally, where you're sort of high above the land. Only instead of being in like a bird form, it's just you're just like floating in midair, sort of looking down at the land stretched out below you like a map. And stood next to you is this large sort of figure of a man that appears to be made solely of like tree bark, mosses, and natural materials. He, with a creaking sound, he points his hand down to the centre of the land, and as you look down, you can see Gallon Meat far, far below you, and the surrounding areas spread out almost like a patchwork quilt. The voice repeats, "The land is dying, Thistle." And as he says that and points down, you see just in a spot that must be just like a few days to like the northwest of Gallon Meat, you see like what almost looks like an ink spot where like someone spilled ink on the landscape. And as you watch, it starts to sort of slowly spread, turning the land sort of black and decaying as it does so. And as you look around, you flash back to when you saw that sort of black stout seeping out over the table in the inn. And as you look around, you see other like black spots appearing on distant parts of the land, all sort of slowly spreading out like spilled ink.
So all around him on the map.
Indeed, these black spots must be like quite far spaced from each other on the map, because you're looking at like hundreds of miles spread out below you because you're quite high up. But you can see that it's almost like, so if you will imagine if you were looking at a map and someone got like a paintbrush with ink on it and just like flicked it at the map and like spots landed everywhere. That's what it looks like, but these spots are slowly sort of spreading out.
Well, he feels very frustrated and sad as he's flying.
The figure,
Not sure what he should do.
the figure hovering next to you says, "Your people, Thistle, your true people, once injured the land, and now you must help to save it, and the balance will be preserved."
He looks back in horror at the creature. He just kind of blinks with his eyes as he looks at the spot spreading. And
Okay.
he nods.
You nod and turn back to look at the creature, only to find it's not there. Then suddenly, as though gravity like reasserts itself, you just find yourself like plummeting down towards the ground, towards Gallon Meat. The ground sort of like rushing up to meet you at like a rate of knots.
And he's still in the fox form.
Indeed.
Is he?
At the very moment when you're sort of about to hit the ground, you suddenly wake up and you find yourself still in fox form, like curled up in this small hole near the dwarven encampment. You just hear in the distance, you hear Glog go, "Oh, it's nothing, back to the tent." And you hear him like walking off.
He'll just probably he'll give up a fox yelp, kind of like "Woo!" and jump up and shapeshift into a bird.
Okay.
Because in his mind he's still flying, so he'll fly up and kind of tumble around in the air and fall down.
Okay, so Rufus, as you're sort of like emerging from the forest, having like dealt with this fool who like held a knife to your throat, you suddenly hear like this sort of like yelping howl, and you see this fox just like shoot up, as far as you're concerned, like from the ground. It must have been in like a burrow or something, and as it shoots into the air, it like shifts and twists into this bird that's sort of like flapping around like madly and like struggling as though it's like in an invisible net, before sort of like reasserting itself and like flapping its wings to keep itself in the same place.
Rufus will take a moment just to appreciate that image and just be like, "Druids." And I'll call out softly, "Is that you, Milo?" Well, just like put my hand on one of my daggers just in case this is some like, evil druid. Who knows what's in this forest?
Okay, so Milo, you've just about sort of reasserted yourself, and you realise, oh, I'm not falling to the ground. You've sort of straightened your flight, and you're effectively like hovering in place. When you hear this like soft voice from over in the direction of the copse trees, go, Milo, is that you? And you see Rufus sort of stood there looking a bit concerned. He's got like one hand sort of like under his like cloak, sort of looking at you.
Looking stealthy as hell.
Okay, let's say it's a raven. The raven will fly towards him and kind of like land and does a Solomon, what do you call it?
Somersault.
Like a tumble, yeah, and shake its feathers off and shapeshift back into Milo, and he will kind of like brush his hair and feathers will fall out of it.
Nice.
Rufus momentarily wondered if he's got any crackers in his backpack.
You've got provisions.
I'm not sure how to deal with druids in a social situation. That they keep changing. Like, how do you talk to a bird? Was my internal dilemma. So I'll pull out like a little bit of meat or something and see if he's hungry. I don't know if he can talk. I'll be like,
yeah, well, he's halfling shape.
Yeah, as he's standing up, he's just turned back into his halfling shape.
Oh, okay.
As you're sort of transforming, Rufus like pulls effectively like a bit of like jerky out of his like provision pack and just like holds it out to you.
Had a bit of a nightmare there, Milo.
I look up at him and kind of blinks. Rufus?
The one and only. I was going for a midnight stroll. I volunteered for watch.
Oh.
I was taking in the sights, and I heard a weird noise, and I came to investigate, and it turns out it looked like it was you. Like you were in some kind of distress.
Yeah. The land is... There's something wrong with the land.
There's always something wrong with the lands with you druids.
No.
That's the way you travel around.
Like,
right?
And he kind of goes...
Because Rufus knows nothing about like what druids care about, so he's just making assumptions here.
Okay, as this conversation's going on, Sanya, you're sort of like lying out in the open, obviously by like the campfire, which has like died down by now, and you're sort of woken by your sleep by the sound of Rufus and Milo having this conversation. You wake up at the point where Rufus is going, "Oh, there's something wrong with the land." So Milo's going, "There's something wrong with the land," and Rufus is like, "There's always something wrong with the land with you druid types."
So I sort of get up. I'm still really hurting from yesterday's escapades. Half my face. So I'm actually like a half bandage, like holding up half my face up. So I like put some kind of cream on it to keep it better. And so I like poke my head out of the tent, and so like gingerly, I sort of look on over, and I'm like, "What are you two doing?"
Milo had a bad dream. I was just giving him some advice.
Oh.
One night out to another. No offense meant.
As Sanya's poking his head out of the tent, you can see he's got this like bandage sort of over half his face, and he's obviously been like putting ointment on it effectively. Do you remember him like burning the goo off his face? But as he's sort of emerging from the tent, like you see the bandage has like slipped down a bit, and you can see that although he's like obviously healed his wound, he's still got this sort of like mark, this like dark mark in like the shape of like a handprint on the side of his face.
That's nasty, Sanya.
While he's talking to Sanya, Milo goes really close to Rufus and kind of like takes his coat or something and sniffs to it, kind of like goes, "You smell sick."
Excuse me?
I start looking
Excuse
around.
me?
I'm not dealing with this right now. And I start just go close the tent, pull up, and I go back to bed. I'm like, nope, not dealing with it.
I don't know where you come from, Milo. Out of character, yeah, I do. But I don't think you understand that is not appropriate behaviour to sniff another individual without warning.
Oh, sorry. Milo tries to jump up on his thighs and grabs his collar to shake him.
Yeah, but pretty much Milo like jumps off your thigh like Rufus, so he's like at eye level with you and grabs hold of your like lapels to like hold himself there, and he's like,
"I'm not sick. I've never been better."
And he tries to mimic what he saw the others do back in Gallenmead. and
Okay,
shakes him, but
you can see
it's
that Milo
difficult.
appears to be trying to like
More.
pick you up by your lapels, but he obviously can't really because his feet are dangling above the floor. But he's like,
Do I need to make a roll, John, to make a connection that if Milo has been the subject of some kind of hallucinatory vegetable out in the wilderness, does he appear in his right mind?
okay, make me a discern realities roll.
Hey, for Milo, this is human etiquette 1-on-1.
Okay. Is that on wisdom?
Yep.
Then it's 5. I fail.
Okay, you have a look at him. Like Milo is obviously tripping balls, whatever like druid herbs he's been like nomming down himself in his foxhole.
Okay.
Perhaps they weren't meant for like civilized consumption. Like his
I'm
eyes have
gonna,
got a mad look to him, and he seems like panicked and a bit sort of sweaty, like he's on a come down.
I'm gonna sort of hold him by the shoulders, like as gingerly and like without putting real force into it. Okay, Mal, this is what I suggest. Obviously, you've eaten something bad out in the forest. Why don't you come, sit by the fire, have some water, maybe have a bit of rations to eat, and you're gonna feel a lot better. And when morning comes, you're gonna feel great.
No, we should get the angry man.
The angry man? Oh, Glag, he's in his tent with the dwarf. He's fine.
Well, if he's done with all his wine and women, we should go.
I mean, I wouldn't like to speak for the man, but I don't think he's ever going to be done.
Isn't it still the middle of the night? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like, are you guys tired? Why are your characters sleeping?
I've got adrenaline, and also
To be fair,
Exhaustion penalties.
you are feeling tired, but like these two are sort of running on adrenaline. Like Rufus has just sort of got out of like a life and death situation, and Milo has just had like this incredibly traumatic experience. So they're both a bit on edge. They are both tired. Their nerves are a bit raw. Hence the sort of like back and forth between them.
Okay, realizing that the human greeting doesn't work, he jumps down from Rufus, and he points at the hand that he used to smear the poison with. This is sick.
Oh, this? No, it's fine. It's fine. It's just a bit of Hadget. It's fine.
Now you know that Rufus, without a roll that Milo, you know without a roll that the Tagit root is a particularly sort of like venomous root. If like someone ate it, it would make them extremely sick.
It'll help you sleep if you want some.
No.
Yeah,
I think we should go now.
Go
Wake
where?
up.
In the middle of the night?
The land is sick. It's bleeding. We'd have to go now.
It's still going to be sick in the morning, Milo. It's going to be sick tomorrow. The land is always sick. It's a cycle, isn't it? And I start going like, you've got your winter, you've got your autumn, which I'm guessing is in this world too.
You're sick.
The cycle of...
It's very obvious to you, Milo, as Rufus is stood there again, like, yeah, you've got like your autumn and your spring, that he's obviously not someone who really knows a lot about the great cycle of being. He's probably like more of a sort of city dweller, and he's just sort of like, yeah, you've got like your snow and your grass and your leaves and
You harvest the crops. I mean, the land is a cycle. It's going to be fine.
You know nothing, Rufus. And he walks past him towards Sanya's tent.
Okay, so Sanya, you're just about sort of like settling back down to sleep in your tent. You're like, oh, whatever them two like chumps are up to. I can't wait till morning. I'm getting myself some sleep. I'm like tired. I'm hurting. I'm just gonna rest. Hopefully this will all blow over by the morning and we can get back to gather meat and everything will be gravy. When, as you're getting to sleep, what do, Milo? As you've like reached the tent flap of his tent.
Yeah, he's struggling a bit with the flaps and finally figures them out and goes inside.
What Rufus does meanwhile, before you do this with Sanya, he's going to look around camp, look at like the rations provision, see if there's anything you can put together to like make like a drink or something you can have to eat that's going to like shake off this bad bit of mushroom he's had.
You think probably looking at your provisions that the best thing would be for him to just get a good night's sleep and let it work itself out of his system. Okay, there's a sound of sort of like as your like tent sort of like rattles a bit near the tent flap, Sanya, and then
I
it sort
probably
of like,
start when I get up like what?
you jump awake and then you hear like this this murmur and the tent flap sort of like undoes itself, and you see Milo sort of duck down and head into your tent.
I'll just go in and look at him and find that corner, and he will shapeshift back into a fox and kind of curl up in that corner of the tent.
I'm gonna go back to bed.
Okay.
Like I can think of a million things I want to do at this point, but I'm like, you know what? None of that matters. I'm just gonna go back to bed. I'm in so much pain. My face hurts.
Okay, so you all head off to sleep, and the next morning the sun rises over the horizon. The dwarves, aside from the dwarven maiden who's with Glog, all start getting up, and they start sort of packing up the tents and everything, ready to like travel back to Gallenmeet, as discussed. You all start waking up in your various tents. Glog, you're like, I've had a lovely night's sleep. Apart from 5 minutes, I feel nice and refreshed. Sanya, you're feeling pretty much okay. Rufus and Milo, you two are both feeling quite tired because you've been quite like active during the evening. But you all start waking up.
Oh, Milo's young, so he could take it.
I'm gonna get up a little earlier, and I'm gonna bring some like porridge or something to Milo's tent. Well, he'll be in the forest again, won't he?
The last time you saw him, he was heading off towards Sanya's tent.
Okay, I'll try and locate him. I'll bring him some breakfast. Make sure he's all right.
Okay, you look around, and as you sort of like lift up the flap of Sanya's tent and peer under, you can see Sanya just sort of like slowly starting to wake up, and there's this like little fox like curled up at the far corner of the tent.
Okay, so what he's going to do, he's going to take the fork out of the bowl and just sort of slide the bowl towards the fox.
Okay, so as you're sort of waking up, Sanya, you hear this like, and your tent flap lifts up a tiny bit, and just this like bowl of porridge like slides into your tent and like sort of bumps into the fox gently, waking you up, Milo, and just sort of like comes to rest against him.
And I'm going to go and do my, try and freshen up myself. Find like a stream or something. And
okay, not a problem. So, does anyone have anything they want to do before you head back to Gallenmeet?
Other than get away from these two, no, I think I'm all good.
Okay, Glog, do you have anything you want to do before heading back to Gallenmeet?
No, I'm gonna basically say a quick goodbye to Dowd.
Well, she's planning on heading back to Gallenmeet with the dwarves, so you'll all be like traveling together anyway. However,
yeah, all right, but I am probably gonna travel kind of separate from her. Like,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna be traveling at her side.
as you're sort of talking to her, she says, "You've told us some more of your like version of what happened with the huge boar creature, of course, as you specified previously." And she says, "No, it's a fantastic tale you've told, Glog. I have a friend of mine who is a dwarven tale spinner, what you humans would call a bard, back in Gallenmeet, who entertains the locals by singing songs about ancient glories and past victories. If you wouldn't mind me introducing him to you, I'm sure he would love to hear your fantastic tale, and it would do a great deal for morale back at Gallenmeet."
I would be happy to spin the tale to him and have him weave it into one worthy of being retold. Yes.
She then starts to say something else, and she looks almost a little bit embarrassed as she's like saying this. She says, also, as I'm sure you've guessed, there are far few true warriors in Gallenmeet. The glory days of Lord Gallen are long since past and gone. I originally came here since my clan are a proud clan of warriors, and I wanted to live up to their ancient reputation, since we are fallen far from grace in modern days. But there are few great warriors to learn from and to emulate at Gallenmeet. If you would not object, I would like to, when you and your companions leave Gallenmeet, I would like to come with you and learn from your warrior prowess, so that I may become a better warrior myself.
Of course.
All I would ask is the the chance to learn from you and to achieve some small measure of my own glory with my own deeds.
It is a worthy goal. Yes.
She smiles and says, "Thank you." And then the rest of you journey back to Gallenmeet. It's a fairly uneventful journey. The dwarves on the way back there were talking about you guys again, and basically sort of saying, "Oh, you've saved like the village twice as far as they're concerned. So you guys are like the greatest heroes that Gallenmeet's seen for like 10 years."
I keep myself under my hood and my hands folded and say nothing.
I will, at some point on the road, just give Glag a little nudge and thank him for having my back last night and leaving me to my business.
Did you manage to clean up that problem?
I took care of things. Yeah.
Good.
Okay, as you guys are arriving back in Gallenmeet, you can see that like the villagers are sort of cleaning up from the previous night's like celebration. You can see the innkeepers like supervising, getting people to like take the furniture back into his inn, etc. As you're sort of walking back towards Gallenmeet, you can see sort of stood on the outskirts of helping the villagers with like the various tasks is your friend and colleague Durkir, the dwarven cleric. Durkir, as you're just generally helping out around the village, helping them like clean up, and you've helped with the morning's worship to Kavresh as the sun has risen over the horizon, you hear footfalls nearby, and you see this sort of like clanking party of dwarves who were sent out, and accompanying them are your friends and colleagues.
Okay, I acknowledge the dwarves first, obviously, and I say to them, "Welcome back."
I tossed the boar head. We took the head, as I recall.
Yes, you did.
On the ground. You missed a bit of fun, Dirkia.
What is that?
He throws down this giant, what looks like boar skull. There's like not an ounce of flesh on it, and some bits of it are scorched as though like fire has like embraced it. And you can see that the skull appears to be strangely sort of twisted and distorted, almost as though this thing had some sort of like birth defects or something similar. He throws his skull down on the ground and he's like, "You missed some fun."
We did battle. I show him like the puncture wound where it had gored me.
Seems like I did. But there was a lot of duties to be had here. And there were the celebrations.
Can we just get a room again and have some rest before we head out tomorrow?
Oh. Didn't get a decent night's sleep, did you?
I look over at Milo and Rufus and I go, somewhat disturbed. We have to go back out there. I think there must be something out there making these. Something is wrong with that place, and we need to go see what it is.
With
The
what
forest,
place?
the forest is sick. Am I right, Milo?
The forest is sick.
No, the land.
The land is
The
sick.
land is sick?
That is a different statement altogether.
Look, it doesn't matter. What matters is that this thing that we thought was infected, it had some weird, strange thing on it, and I don't think it was natural. I think it came from somewhere else. We have to find its source.
But this thing would have fed off the land. So if the land was sick, then it would in turn become sick.
Durkee is right. How do we fight the land?
As you guys are having this conversation, the door of the inn, sort of like just off to your right, opens, and you see the dwarven priest of Kavresh with his bright orange hair emerges from the inn. He's like chatting to the innkeeper, obviously been like helping him get his stuff done. He moves across to go sort of past you guys. He stops for like a heavy sort of few seconds and just like looks dead at you, Sanya. Then without
Rufus instinctively moves like slightly in front of Sanya just to like shield him a little bit.
then
And I like pull my hood down a little bit more. Just a little, like,
I'll instinctively glower / intimidate this guy.
that's fine. Without saying a word, he turns to look at Durkir, nods at you, makes the sign of Kavresh, and says, "Remember what we spoke about, Durkir?"
It was only a night ago, I do remember.
He smiles and then he just walks off towards the tower.
So, how are we to fight the land?
what?
So
I mean, I got a couple of daggers.
We need to go back where the ball was.
Just come back from there.
Yes.
But we need to go back. You
We
said
need
we
to go
needed to
back.
go back.
We did mention this. We need to go back.
I know,
We
but
have
there's
to
not
come-
much coin in just wandering around.
Look,
solving
something
the world's
is making
issues.
the people and the creatures of this area kill each other. I don't like it. I want to burn it.
We need to eat. Even Glag wants to, fight tremendous creatures, but he still needs to eat. We need coin.
That's where we're going tomorrow. We'll go tomorrow.
What we need to do is find someone who wants us to solve this problem.
But
Oh.
you can't. I mean, you got something to eat here last, right? So go eat.
I mean, we can't just keep going around and not replenishing our supplies.
Gentlemen,
Fine.
you're bickering. You need food in your stomachs.
All of us can
direct.
take God's favor as nourishment. Some of us have to actually work for a living.
What,
All
do you
right.
think that Cabrash is all about fasting and malnourishment? No, he wants us to eat. I had a very hearty breakfast this morning, thank you.
Yeah, but it's tears of some innocent people you had to murder all the way through.
I didn't quite catch that.
I said if we're going to find something to eat, he's probably right. We need to make money. Perhaps we can ask for some kind of payment from the mayor we met last night. 2 nights ago.
I mean, the roads
Still
need to
not-
be kept clean.
I still don't see what I can do. Men and beasts fall to my axe. I cannot cleave the land.
I mean, you're pretty strong.
If anything,
After you.
our druid should maybe be the one to guide us the most here.
I don't think Milo's the best person to be
Why do you
seeking
say
advice
that?
from right now.
He does seem to have a nose for smelling
He's
things.
a little sick.
No, I'm not sick. The land is sick.
Glog?
It is agreed then. The druid will lead us.
Yes, and Glog, you're there because most likely this thing would have infected other things, other creatures, other strange things around the area. That
I
you
hope
can kill.
so.
All right. So plans are made. We go tomorrow. Rufus, go find us a benefactor.
Wait, what? Oh, I see.
It was your idea.
It was your idea.
In the meantime, I'll
Right.
pray to Kavresh for guidance.
Oh, please do.
I'll be in the tavern.
So
I'll be
Milo
by
looks at
fire.
him. So what do you need?
I don't actually know.
Just food?
I was kind of, yes, actually, we could do with food, but we're going to the tavern for that. I was kind of hoping you would know that, being the druid.
But I mean, if I get food, we go out.
Yeah, we'll get food, and we'll go out tomorrow. Are you with me, Marlo?
Rufus will try and find some kind of trade master or some equivalent in the town, someone who maintains the caravans or maybe the town mayor.
Okay, so whilst you're off looking for someone who meets those criteria, Durkee, you said you were praying to Kavresh. Now, I don't know if you've seen the divine guidance bit of your character sheet.
No. Whereabouts is that?
It's just in the way you choose a precept of your religion. So whenever you petition your deity according to the precept of your religion, whichever one you've chosen, you are granted some useful knowledge or boon related to your deity's domain. So which of your precepts did you choose?
It was bloody conquest, and it believes in trial by combat and personal victory.
Okay, so if you want to seek divine guidance from Kavresh, you need to follow those precepts or do something that meets those precepts,
I see.
and then Kavresh would bestow some sort of divine knowledge on you.
Okay, in that case, Durkee is very much about, okay, hopefully we'll find another creature equivalent to the one that Glog killed, or whoever he thought it was killed, and then hopefully you can get some guidance from that. But in the meantime, when he said pray, he didn't mean go to a shrine away from Sanya. He's actually staying around him, and it's just simply rubbing his pendant.
Okay, so as you're sort of contemplating your penalty, you're thinking about these potential other foes, and you can hear You can hear Sanya saying, Glog, you're there because whatever this is, it's probably created other beasts and other monstrosities. And Glog's like, well, I hope so. Everything around you seems to like sort of fade away until that you're just stood there and there's only like you and this twisted skull that's been thrown on the ground. And as you're sort of looking at it, you hear this sort of whispered voice emanating from the skull that only you seem to be able to hear. And this voice says, the sickness of the land begins with man, not with the land.
Who are you? What is your purpose in this place?
As you say this and you ask this question, what appear to be flames like flare up in the eye sockets of the boar's skull, and you see like smoke like billowing out from its mouth. And the voice says, recognise and know me, Dirkir Hammerfall. And then the flames die. There's like a sort of hearty, sort of like warm laughter echoes from the skull, and the flames slowly flicker and die out, and everything else sort of like comes back into focus. As far as the rest of you are concerned, like Dirkir's just sort of like been like absentmindedly like sort of staring at this skull and sort of holding this sort of hammer pendant.
I take a good long leer at Sanya, and I don't leave his side for pretty much the whole day.
Okay. As Dirk is sort of like staring at the skull, sort of almost like glassy-eyed, you feel like a slight sort of shiver as though a cold breeze had blown up your spine, Sanya.
I sort of shiver a little bit. And I'm like, it's a bit cold out here. I'm going inside. And I sort of go towards the tavern. I know it's daytime, so no fire's been lit, but like, I'm just going somewhere a bit warmer. Starting to feel a bit cold.
Okay.
At which point I probably will notice that I'm being followed by Dirk here.
Okay, so while this has been going on, Rufus, you've sort of looked around. You've not really found anyone who's like a trade master, but you eventually like made your way to the inn because that's the sort of point of congregation in the village. As you walk in, you see the innkeeper still wearing this sort of like splattered apron. You see him sort of like step up as the door opens with a big smile on his face, and he's like, oh, welcome to the Orcs. Oh, it's you.
Hey.
As you look past him, you can see there's like a sort of a plank like hastily nailed over the hole that Milo like carved into the floorboards. The innkeeper looks at you and he says, is there something I can do for you, sir?
Well,
I'm probably sitting at one of the tables if that matters to you.
Yeah, that's fine.
there is actually. As you can see, gesturing at things, my compatriots are skilled in many talents, destruction being one of them.
Yeah, yes, I'd noticed that.
Mm-hmm. There's been a dwarven caravan that's just arrived. Was it a caravan or was it a trade?
The dwarves who came back, they were just a party sent out by Lord Duskfane to basically back you guys up.
They're soldiers.
The roads are unfortunately clustered with dangerous creatures that are stifling the trade.
Well, that's true. He says it's a crying shame. He says, why, I remember 10 years ago when Lord Gallen was here, these routes were the safest in the lands. They were regularly patrolled. We had lots of recruits. But back in my fighting days, obviously, and he sort of like taps his leg before my injury. But now there's things everywhere. There's bandits preying on innocent people, and well, we're almost forgotten about here up at the tower. Up in Gallenmead, we barely get any recruits, and the ones we do get are just like the dregs that no one else wants. It's a crying shame to see how far this place has fallen.
Indeed, and it can be again, my friend. You're in luck. We are preparing to venture out into the forest on a perilous mission, as I'm sure you're aware.
Well, you want to be careful if you do. Like I said, in these lawless days, there's bandits everywhere. You know, people preying on the poor, stealing.
And I was thinking, if there was an enterprising individual who, say, wanted his trade road to be cleared of troubles, then perhaps he could find a willing party to do that for him.
As you're saying this, the innkeeper's sort of like still sort of tidying up, and he says, since we're talking, and he sort of nods at where he's fastened this plank over the hole that dug in the ground, and he says, he sort of looks at you, and he says, thanks for your understanding with why I was getting a bit worked up previously. Look, I know this place has fallen far from what it used to be, but I take pride in this place. And he sort of gestures with his thumb around at the tavern. He's like, it might only be a little tavern, you know. I've not got much money. We don't get a lot of people through here, but I try and make the best of it. You know, I try and do the best I can for the people of the village.
And it shows. This place, believe it, is a palace compared to some of the places I've slept.
He puts down a drink in front of you, and then he sort of holds his hand out towards you, and he says, "Holger, by the way."
Pleased to meet you, Holger. Rufus.
He nods and he says, "Well, if it's coin you're after," he says, "Well, I did hear the old apothecary was saying that he was looking to get some people to look into something for him. He'd had a bit too much of the grain wine last night, old Edad, and he was saying something about crops failing to the south. He'd had a bit too much. He was slurring a little bit, and I was busy, so I didn't really hear the whole of it. But he said he was looking to get some people to look into it. So maybe you could go and speak to him."
Okay, I will do that. Thank you.
He's got a little hut just on the outskirts of the village. You'll easily recognise it. It's the one with all the herbs and the flowers hung from the thatch, and you smell it from a mile away.
What was this individual called again?
Edad Nola's his name.
Edad.
Yeah.
No, okay. It's an interesting inflection. I'm from more of a country kind of name that. I'm a city dweller like myself.
So as well, I don't know where we originally came from, but old Edad was here when I got it, like I say, over 10 years ago now. Most people who come here have sort of, back in the day when we used to be able to get decent recruits, most people are trying to forget things that they don't want to remember in their past. And back in the day, it was always seen as an honourable pursuit to come and man the walls of Gallowmead and protect the Southlands from the orcs. And he spits on the floor as he says it and frowns. The orcs, the giants, all that sort of stuff to the north in the cold lands.
Yeah, unfortunately, people aren't quite as honest as they used to be. Right then, thank you very much for your help. I think it's best if I get my compatriots out of this town to avoid any more incidents, gesturing at the floor.
He smiles and nods and says, "Well, I would appreciate it if your small friend wouldn't go trying to dig up any more of my tavern. It would be very much appreciated."
Well, I can't make any promises, I'm afraid. He's a little bit on the wild side.
As you're sort of talking about this, he takes a small pouch out from the pocket of his apron, puts it on the table, takes out a pipe. You can see effectively like this tobacco in the pipe. He tamps some down into his pipe and he's like, and he says, "Help yourself if you want some."
Oh, none for me, thanks. Not for me.
He says, "Oh yeah." He says, "Oh, it's good stuff. Harvling pipe leaf. You won't find finer up in this area than all."
Now, Rufus is aware of how good this stuff is, but he's like, I appreciate the offer, but in my line of work, I need to keep my body in good shape. Tends to bring on a cough.
Well, I tell you what, grab yourself a pinch of it. You can use it later. I've got a fair bit. I get it off the apothecary. It's good for the lungs.
I'll take a little bit then. I won't like it.
Okay, you have some Harvling pipe leaf. You have enough for 6 uses. And just so you know what it does, whenever you share Harvling pipe leaf with someone, you expend 2 uses of it, and you get a +1 to parley with them.
All right.
Because you all sit down and share a pipe together. The innkeeper stands up, still sort of just his pipe gripped in between his lips, so still puffing away and he says, "Well, no rest for the wicked. Best get back to it. This furniture ain't going to drag itself back inside." Although the 2 priests have been very helpful this morning. Very grateful. With my injury, I don't think I could have managed to wrestle that big table back in on my own. When you see your friend the priest, say thanks for me.
Will do. You get better now. As I head out, I'm gonna head towards the this guy's Edad.
Well, I'm in there. I'm sitting at a table. I don't know if anyone else is.
Yeah, Milo's out trying to find the old man Dusk Thane, the mayor, while his friend is having dinner.
Okay, so You look around, you don't really see him, but you guess he's probably at the tower, since he mentioned previously that's where he spends a lot of his time. And as you sort of walk up to this large stone tower, Milo, you can see there's like two dwarves in like full armour, holding swords, sort of like one on either side of the door, guarding it. They obviously recognise you as one of the heroes who have helped Gallonmeet, and they nod to you respectfully as you approach, and one of them says, "Is there something I can do for you this morning, my little friend?"
Yes, I'm here to talk to you, the mayor. Thing.
Well, Lord Duskthane is extremely busy, but in light of the help you've given us in Gallonmeet, I can go and see if he's available to talk to you. If you just wait here for a few moments.
Okay.
He opens the wooden door of the tower, heads inside, and about 10 minutes later, the door opens and you see Lord Duskthane, his long, sort of ringleted beard falling down almost to his waist. Although he's not wearing his like full armour, he's just wearing normal clothes. He opens the door, sees you, and he sort of grins widely and says, "Ah! Good morning. I'm sorry you've
Hello.
caught me a little bit out of sorts. What can I do for you?"
Hello.
"Hello."
Milo seems to recall that he would extend his arm towards them. So he's gonna think that's a dwarven thing. So he goes like this.
You hold your hand up, and Lord Duskthane like clasps your forearm and like shakes it a couple of times before letting it go. And he says, "Well, I am quite busy at the moment, my small
Yes.
friend.
Okay.
What can I do?"
I
for
don't
you?"
know much about human affairs, and I don't know much about dwarven affairs either, to be honest. They need coin to go out and buy some food, so we can go out and heal the land. So maybe you would have some spare coins for them.
He frowns and says, "Well, I'm sure we can provide some food in light of the service you've given here, but we don't have vast reserves of coin lying around, my friend."
Okay.
What do you mean, heal the land? He says,
But the
looking
land is sick.
concerned. Sick?
Yes.
Sick how?
There's a sickness. There's a sickness spreading. Kind of like a rot in a tree where it spreads.
At which point he looks at you and he says, "I'm holding a." Actually, can you make me a charisma roll, please, Marlo?
Yeah, I can. Ooh, that's actually a 9. Believe it or not.
Okay. He leans in close to you and he says, "This sounds extremely concerning. I'm holding a meeting for my generals this evening where we're going to discuss matters of import and the recent affairs that have occurred here. If I would be honoured if you would speak to the people assembled at that meeting and talk about this sickness. If it's something that needs to be dealt with, then it needs to be discussed by myself and my thanes."
Okay. And then you will have food or coin.
Simply go to the Orc's Head and tell the innkeeper Holger that I said he was to give you whatever food and provisions you need. The coin, however, I cannot help you with. All of the coin we have here needs to be used for the safety and protection of Gallonmeet.
Oh.
Equipping
Okay.
my warriors is not cheap, my small friend.
Well, he rumbles through his fur and his hide and takes out the knife that he borrowed from Rufus. Maybe this will help.
You hold it out to him, and he sort of looks at you a little puzzled and says, "It is a small but serviceable blade. I don't see how it has any bearing on this situation."
No, I thought you said you need to steal.
As you say that, he sort of like throws his head back and lets out this like great belly laugh, and then like claps you on the back, and he says, "You have a warrior's heart, my small friend. I can see that. However, we require far sturdier armaments than that small potato peeler you have there."
Ah, okay. He looks a little puzzled, and I will see you tonight then. And he walks
Are you wait, my small friend? Are you staying at the inn or?
Mm,
I will need to know where you are so I can send someone to fetch you to the meeting of the Thanes.
okay, I'll be at the inn then.
Excellent. I will send one of my men to collect you.
Okay. And he goes back to the inn.
Okay, so just to get a quick check, I know Glog is at the inn. I know Milo is heading to the inn. What's everyone else up to?
I was gonna head into the inn as well, and I've just noticed Durka following me, but I'm trying not
Indeed.
to pay attention to it. And I sort of realized that we're kind of running low on supplies and stuff like that. So I don't know. Can I try and is there a place I can go to try and get some kind of restock? Because we need rations and stuff if we're going to be going up there
Temple of
again.
your god, maybe?
Except going to the Temple of my God.
Okay, so
I'm trying to. I was up to you.
No, I was going to say, for convenience sake, I'm going to assume you all rendezvous at the inn just to get you all together, and so we can press on. So you're all at the inn. You're all sort of seated round. There's Glog there as well. There's this dwarven woman who has effectively become like a follower of yours, Glog. Now, so obviously seeking to emulate your glory.
Yes, I don't even bother introducing her. I just assume that it's okay.
Well, yeah.
I don't even mention it to the rest of the PCs.
As you're all sat down, Sanya's talking about the fact you need to replenish your provisions.
This is what I've been saying for the past day or so.
No,
Yes,
I talked to the man, and he said we could get all we need here.
Oh, that's amazing, Milo. Thank you.
Wait, what?
Rufus, did you
Sorry.
did you find someone willing to pay us to fix the
Hopefully,
land?
yes. I'm going to go and talk to a farmer called Edad. Been having trouble on their farm.
Hopefully.
Oh, but
I stand up in the tavern. I bang my glass. So I clap my hands once really loud. The land is sick. Does anyone want to pay us to go do something about it?
But
There's only a few of the locals around at this time, but they're all sort of like...
Like Rufus puts his hand up as if he's
I
going to
sit
stop
down
Glog,
again,
and then he's just
shrug.
going to okay.
But we don't
I
need
just
it
sit down
because
and shrug,
I
drink.
we got the food now.
Where do we get the food?
Like that Lord Dust thing. He said we could get.
He did?
You spoke to the mayor?
Well, you
What
said
the
you
fuck
needed
is the
coin.
mayor?
You said you needed coin to buy food, so I asked him for coin, and he said he didn't have any, but we could have all the food we wanted.
It's not fox food, is it?
Did he say? Was that?
It better not be red berries, because I hate red berries. Okay?
You are strange to be so picky about what food you put in your belly.
Got to eat more than just fox food.
I don't know if it's. I mean,
Gives me indigestion.
If the land is sick, then there's only so much food we can eat anyway. Be thankful for what you have.
Right. I feel like we have lost what we're doing at the moment. I just want to clarify one more time. We don't need to worry about rations of food because the mayor is paying for it.
yes.
Are you sure it was the mayor and not just some guy you found?
You sure there's some guy you talked to?
I know it was the guy that you talked to. He came up to our room and said he wanted to see us, and we should go to that celebration thing.
So let me get, while I was told to go off and find coin, you, Milo, took it upon yourself to find a man to solve half of our problems.
Why didn't you do what he did? I say to Rufus.
I wanted coin, not food. I wanted coin so we could buy
Seems
things.
like
not
you
just
could
food.
learn something from the young one.
Indeed.
As you're saying this, and Glog's pretty much pissing himself laughing. The door opens and one of the villagers walks in with a big sack over his shoulder. He takes it over to the innkeeper and he's like, "Here you go, Holger. Here's your bread delivery for this morning." He puts the sack down next to him. Holger's like, "Thanks very much." He chucks him some coin and the guy starts walking off. You see Holger's looking in this sack and then he goes, "Hold on a minute. what do you call this? At which point, the man's like, it's just a normal bread delivery I make. Holger reaches in the bag, takes out this loaf of bread, and like puts it on the bar so you can see it. And it's got this like weird sort of black mould, this sort of black greeny mould over it. And he's like, I can't give my customers this. What do you think you're playing at? At which point, you see
now
like the guy who's giving him the bread like actually looks like really shocked, and he's like, don't know what to tell you, Holger. He's like, it was fine. It was fine when I baked it this morning. He's like, what about the rest of the bag? And Holger like picks up the bag and just like shakes it out. All these loaves fall onto the ground, and they've all got this weird sort of black green mold speckled across it.
I'm getting really tired.
Holger's like, it's all like this. I can't give this to my customers. Best thing I can do with this is like take it out back and burn it.
Rufus is weirdly hungry at that sight. It's a lot of bread. It's probably more bread he's ever seen in his entire life.
Milo picks up a loaf and turns it around in his hand and looks.
Do not put that in your mouth, Milo.
Yeah, as you pick it up,
He's
pretty
all
much
going.
Rufus and Holger, the innkeeper, both at the same time are like, wait, don't eat that shit.
This is not fox food, he says back at the table.
The innkeeper like snatches the loaf off you, Milo, gathers up all the loaves like back into the sack, and he says, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna burn it, and he like throws it onto like the fire in the tavern.
I turn to
So now
Milo.
it's a sack of toast.
I whisper to him quite low pitched, Milo, the sickness of the land comes from the sickness of man. That's what Kavresh has told me.
From man?
Yes.
While this is going on, the baker's like apologising to the innkeeper Holger, and he like gives him his coin back, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, Holger. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I'll go and bake you a fresh load, but it'll like take me a while. I mean, here, have your coin back until it's sorted out. Holger's like, yeah, all right. Well, just get me the bread as fast as you can. I suppose the patrons will have to make do with like the dried rations until then.
Hang on. I look up at the innkeeper. Do you have chickens? Like, who lay eggs?
Holger's like, yeah, we've got some chickens in the village. I've got some out back myself scratching about.
Could you take a fresh egg and crack it?
He says, yeah, of course. And I suppose I can sort you out some eggs if you've got coin to pay for it.
No. But the mayor said, I mean, is this the orc's head?
Yeah, this is the orc's head.
Okay. The mayor said you should give us food.
He starts to like open his mouth, and he's like, of course he did. I'll go and get I'll go and get your eggs, little master. And he sighs, sort of like his shoulders like slump a bit. He turns around and he like walks out the back door of the inn.
I'm staring.
Internally, Rufus is like, that's Sly Fox, Milo. That's all. Sly Fox.
He threw the bread into a fire, right?
Yep.
So I see him throw the bread into a fire, and I sort of like look at the fire for a second. I look away, and then something like catches the corner of my eye, and I look at the fire again. Then I start to look at it a little bit deeper, and I start to approach it, and until like I'm like literally like right in front of it. And I sort of kneel down, and for the very first time, I look into the flame, searching for answers. And I'd like to use one of my moves, which is when you stare into a source of fire looking for an answers, on a hit, the GM will tell you something new or interesting about the side situation. Can I give it a shot?
Yep, go for it.
Lost too much of my breath. So let's know if I don't roll all ones. That was a 6 plus 2 is an 8. So on a hit, the GM will tell you something new and interesting about the current situation. On a 7 to 9, he'll give me an impression. Not good detail.
That
but
mold
an
is now
impression of what's
airborne.
going on.
Okay, and what did you get on your roll? Sorry.
I got an 8.
So you get an impression. Okay.
Yeah.
So as you're
Do Michael Caine.
you're only supposed to burn the So as you're sort of staring into the fire, you have this brief impression of these great fields of wheat sort of moving in the wind. It's almost so you can like see it in the flames, as though you're sort of looking at some other place. And you recognise the sort of like the fields surrounding Gallonmeet where they grow their crops. But as you look at it, you see like some of the. It's almost so you can like feel the roots of this wheat, sort of taking the life and the water and the nutrients from the land. And as you watch, you see that they're also drawing this strange sort of darkness up through their roots into the wheat. And as you watch the fire, the vision you see shifts, and you see this like baker taking the wheat. It's being ground down. He's making the bread out of it. And as he's doing so, unseen by him, this sort of darkness that was in the wheat is like transferred into the bread.
I pull back from the fire, look at everyone, I go, we don't need to go back there anymore, people. It's here. Milo's right. Something is wrong with the land. I can see it. I can see it in the flame. I don't know how I can see it in the flames, but I can see it in the flames. There's something happening right here, right now, and it's causing this, and I don't know what it is.
Did you eat some of that bread, Milo? Well, sorry, Tanya, even.
No, I didn't. You clearly told me I didn't eat any of the bread. Something is wrong with the
fire
land.
as well. And kind of internally cry out to Kavresh, like, what is going on? Why is it here?
Okay, the fire crackles, but you don't receive any advice from on high from Kavrej.
Since Rufus does not have a god, flames, or the forest to aid him, he's going to get up, going to walk outside and see if there's anything going on outside, if indeed.
Okay, as you're walking outside, there's villagers doing the day-to-day business. As you watch, you see like an elderly villager leaning on like a walking cane. He stood there talking to the apothecary you recognised previously, who worked on the injured guard, and the apothecary stood next to him. He's like holding out a pouch of herbs, and he's like, just rub it on get someone to rub it on your back 3 times a day. It should make the pain a bit less, at least make it bearable. The old man's like, oh. Thank you, Nolly. You're a lifesaver. What with this cold weather coming in, my back plays up something terrible. He's like, well, you just don't go overstraining yourself. Make sure you get this rubbed on your back. It should at least take the pain away a little bit. When you've used all of that, come back and see me, and I'll give you some more. He's like, thanks very much, Nolly. And he sort of he turns around and he starts like you hear like with his stick as he's like heading to his own hut. Then you see the old apothecary, his long white beard and his sort of tufts of hair. He smiles, watches the guy go, and he turns around and starts walking off to this hut at the far end of the village. There's all like garlands of like flowers and herbs hanging from the thatch of this hut.
Okay. Did I get a look at what he was giving him?
It looked like it was a small leather pouch that he like handed over to him.
Okay. Alright, well, I'm going to go and approach Nola then.
Okay, you approach him as he's turning round. He looks up at you through his old, like, slightly sort of roomy eyes, and he's like, yes?
Hey, sorry to trouble you, sir, but I heard that you were looking for people to investigate a matter on your farm.
He looks at you curiously and says, I don't have a farm. I'm the Gallonmeet apothecary.
He's not the...
Then as he sort of peers at you a little more, and he says, of course, I expect you're referring to that business in Pondmount.
Possibly, if there's coin in it.
He says, well, I was travelling through Pondmount. It's a small town. It's about 8 days away from Gallonmeet. I was travelling through there recently, and they're having some trouble with their crops down there. A lot of people have been getting sick. I was only passing through at the time, so I wasn't really able to help them. I said I'd see if I could find someone to give them a hand. I know they've had trouble with bandits as well. So I said I'd see if there was anyone free at Gallonmeet to go down there and help them out. But given that everyone's been preoccupied recently, it's not been possible.
Well, I'm not saying that we are free, but we could be free. We do have a druid which is specializes in this area of of the land being sick.
He says, "Well, I wouldn't be able to pay you myself, but I'm sure the mayor of Pond Mount would be most generous if you were able to resolve that problem. But after all, most of the grain and the food from Ganymede, aside from what we can grow ourselves up here, although the climate's not ideal for it, nor is the ground, a lot of the food we get up here comes from Pond Mount. We do a lot of trading with them, and a lot of our recruits come from there.
And if this doesn't get sorted, people are going to start to starve.
Exactly, especially with winter coming in, we're going to need those food stores more than ever. I was planning to speak to Lord Duskthane about it at his meeting of the Thanes this evening, but if the heroes of Ganymede were to go and sort it out, then I'm sure the officials at Pond Mount will be most grateful and will show their gratefulness accordingly.
Well, that's very kind of you to say. I think we may look into this.
Oh, but please do. I'd be it'd set my old mind at rest to know that brave heroes such as yourself were taking this matter in hand, so to speak. I know the people of Pond Mount. They're good people, honest people who work the land, and they don't deserve all the hardships they're having recently. It's more's the pity that we can't spare more troops from Ganymede to patrol the routes between there and here to keep them safe. But well, with times being what they are, and he shrugs.
Bandits are everywhere these days.
True. This world seemed a much safer place when I was a young man, but it's one of life's ironies that now I'm older and less able to deal with it. This is when the world chooses to bedevil us with these trials and tribulations.
Trying times create the most aspirational heroes, my man. I'll bid him good day and I head back to the tavern, which of course my fellows will have not burnt down to the ground. I'm sure everything's fine.
There's just like a pile of action, like the innkeeper's like, why?
Mistakes were made.
And you've just got like Glog sat amongst a pile of ash going,
He's now got 5 followers.
yeah, it's just like accumulating like a war band of dwarves around himself. Okay, so you get back to the inn, the Orc's Head. Your fellows, Durkir, Glog, Sanya, Milo are still there.
I'll relay this information to them.
Okay, as you come in, Milo is trying to explain to others that the mayor wants to see him later tonight and talk about the sickness.
And in fact, as you're saying that, the innkeeper Holger walks back in. He's got like a couple of eggs, and he's sort of holding them up. You can tell by the fact they've still got a few like feathers stuck to them and a bit of muck on them that they're obviously like fresh from the chicken, so to speak. And he looks at you, Milo, and he says, "And how would you like your 3 eggs, little master?"
Oh, raw. And I go up and take an egg and crack it on the table.
He looks like horrified when you're like, "Oh, raw." He's like, okay, you crack the egg on the table, and as you do, instead of the normally sort of like clear white of the egg coming out and this sort of golden yolk in the middle of it, the liquid that comes out is this dark sort of almost emerald green black colour, and the yolk is this unhealthy leprous grey. And at this point the innkeeper is like, "Oh,
That's not right.
Oh boy.
Well, your face was huge there, Rob.
The innkeeper's like, "I don't understand it. This is a fresh egg. It can't have gone bad."
No, the land is sick. And because the chickens feed from the land, they become sick.
I really hate to say this, but he's right.
I mean, I'm not an
Something is affecting
apothecary, but
land.
the egg is disgusting.
Yeah, that's not right.
No. We need to do
the
something
innkeeper
about
like
it.
reaches out his hand as though he's going to like scrape it off the table. Like he's like, "Well, let me get rid of this." And I'll
No, don't touch it.
it.
Don't touch it.
As Sanya and Durkir are like, "No." he just like stops his hand like about a cent. Well, in fact, would
Oh.
one of you like to make me a dice roll to see whether you manage to like stop him from touching the egg? I'll leave it up to you
Go
guys
on,
which
then.
one of you wants to roll. It'll be a roll plus
Eh,
dex.
don't mind.
You go for it, because I've
Alright. Okay. How's this work again?
You roll
Dex roll, is it?
2d6.
2d6 straight down the line.
2d6.
And add
Plus
your
your
dex
modifier.
modifier.
Plus my dex modifier,
You want at
which
least
is
7.
Which is nothing. I got 6.
Okay, so
Well, you get an experience point, but you fail.
yeah, you do get an experience mark. So literally, the innkeeper's just sort of like gone like that and started scraping it off into like his hand with his other hand. So he's already touched it. It plops into his like outstretched hand as he's obviously going to like throw it in the fire. As you two are like, no, don't touch it. And he's like,
I'm just going to say to him, looks like somebody else owes you money too.
I'll wait for him to throw it out, and I'll look at his hand, see if it's doing anything weird.
he heads over to the fire, like throws this egg, and there's like this hissing, spitting noise as it burns on the fire. And he walks over to you. He's like shaking his hands because obviously he has got like a bit of the slime on his hands. He's like shakes his hands into the fire, and he walks back over. His hands don't. He's not like mutating or anything like weird like that. He looks a bit like he's like, oh, but wait, he looks more just sort of like disgruntled rather than like he's in any sort of serious problems.
Okay. Well, maybe it's not so bad.
Not for
Wash
now.
your hands first.
So the land is dying, guys.
Yes.
Yes,
we
we
will
will.
establish
Well,
this.
I've already eaten.
Now, I've heard word that down south there's a town called is it Pond?
Pond
Pond?
Mount.
I was going to say Poundland. Pond Mount.
Poundland.
Yeah, there is a town to the south where everything costs £1.
Everything is
Poundland, that's like the gay bar. Gay strip bar.
Alright.
so I was trying not to. And they are apparently offering coin to look into their crops dying, which is in line, and I look at Milo, with the land being in peril. So you just want to think about it. We're going to need coin eventually. The armor needs repairing. These daggers don't just come from anywhere, you know.
I think you're right. I'm totally with you. However, we need to solve the problem that's here while we're at it, because I feel
I
the
agree.
problem here is the same as there.
Maybe you can go with. I mean, since you saw something in the fire, and
Of course he did.
Milo takes some of the eggs and puts.
Whenever Sanyu wants to do something, he sees it in the fire, and now it's suddenly we have to do it.
Look,
That's
I didn't.
totally different campaign.
Yeah, the way Rufus speaks, he's like, "Oh, that old fire bullshit again." Sanya's always like that. Oh, I never get tired of hearing about the fucking fire. Tell me about the fire.
Started the
Sanya."
fire, did you? I turned towards what's the innkeeper, and I go, has anything changed in this town the last few days other than us being here? Like someone new turning up, a new ritual, something different?
There was the festival.
It couldn't be the festival. It's happened before the festival. It was
I thought
happening
you said
just-
your god was responsible for all kinds of.
He's
terrors.
not my god.
Well, I mean, there were a green fire and the stone dwarfs and all that. Says Milo as he puts the eggs away.
Yeah, but we stopped that.
But we only stopped one place, right? Remember,
So we've
there were
been
more.
finding the symptoms of this problem, but we haven't found the cause, right? That's
Yes,
what I'm.
That's the problem. We don't know what
the innkeeper
cause
Holger
is.
says. Well, there's nothing unusual happen. We've had some traders pass through. We occasionally get people stopping off here. We've had some new recruits come up from Pond Mount. Not that they're much good, to be honest. More's the pity. Quality of people we get nowadays, but that's about it, really.
Wait, people from Podmount, you said?
Yeah, that's right. We get
And
a
you
lot
said
of
there's a
our
problem-
recruits from there.
Are they in town right now?
Yeah, I expect they'll be up at the fort going through the initial training. Assuming they've not changed it since my day.
What if, as was it Durkin that said that the route was man, not the land?
I did.
What if what if something's happened in Pond Mount, and they brought the trouble
Mount.
here? Yeah.
Quite possibly.
Someone was sick, came here, spread the sickness.
Well, there's
Or
only
the
one way
land
to
was
find
tainted
out.
somehow.
Let's go meet them and see what they say.
I wouldn't shake their hand.
or eat their food. Plus, we have to go to the fort anyway. I believe you have an audience with the mayor, Milo?
Tonight.
Have you ever given a speech before, Milo?
No, that's why I was hoping Sanya could go with me, or maybe.
Wait,
Dirk.
what? Why me? I'm not. I don't. The fire says I can't give speeches.
Don't look at me.
It said that right now. Did you hear it? It said.
I like to think that Matthew's response then, that laughter, was like how Rufus responded.
That is exactly. It's just.
It's like,
I've bunked with this guy for a long time in a prison, and I know when he's giving me fire BS.
he's like,
like
oh,
I
he's
did
like,
it.
oh, that time when you said like the fire told you not to share your rations with me. I remember.
Yeah.
So I sort of go, all right, let's. I look at everyone, and go, all right, let's go to the fort, speak to these people that give us information, or they could be the cause, and also Milo can give a speech.
Fine. There better be booze there.
Bring
I
some with
agree
you.
entirely with Glag's sentiments. I haven't eaten, I haven't drank anything today.
The innkeeper with like a bit of a strained voice says, "Of course, I'll be happy to give you some drink to take with you, as Lord Dusklane commands."
Just have someone take a sip of it first.
Make sure it's not tainted.
He
should be all right
goes
now.
over and he gets like one of those sort of demi-johns, those like pottery demi-johns, pops the cork out of it, has a sniff of it, takes like a little sip himself, puts the top back in, and he says, "There you go, barley wine, tastes fine."
Rufus internally knows that Glag is going to down that whole thing, and he is cool with it.
Not at once. I don't. He's not an alcoholic. He just has a lot of tolerance.
His tastes are cheap.
Much like his men. Okay, so let's go on.
Okay, so you go.
Come on, I've never paid for it.
So you guys make your way to the fort. There's still like a couple of dwarves stood on the main doorway into the fort.
So
As you approach, they
we'll walk
nod at
on
you
up.
respectfully.
Oh,
I'll even
that-
pull my hood down, since I'm obviously recognised as a hero of the town. Stealth mode disengaged.
We shall saunter on in after giving them nods.
You should have come in through the windows.
I am in
Okay.
no way trying to be inconspicuous.
As you're sort of about to head into the tower, from like behind it, like on the other side, you can hear like the sounds of like voices, sort of like raised voices. Then you hear what sounds like the sound of like wood on wood, like as though there's like some fighting going on the other side of the tower.
Well, that sounds way more interesting to me than going to hear a speech. So I'm going there.
Okay, as you head round the tower, you can see a number, Glog, you can see a number of humans and dwarves. They're wearing sort of fairly normal clothing. They're holding like practice weapons, like wooden practice weapons, and they appear to be going through like a series of like sort of combat exercises. There's an old sort of scarred dwarf stood there in like chain armor, and he's like instructing them. He's like, "No, lift your arm up more. No, strike with your weight behind it. Come on, parry that blow. What will you do if the orc hordes of the north descended on us now? You'd be no good, would you?"
So I'd like to kind of try to judge them, how good they are, how good the instructor is, if he's teaching them right, in my opinion.
Okay, that is absolutely fine. So make me maybe a roll plus strength, since you're doing so. It's martial based.
10.
Okay, you can see that these are obviously sort of like green, like recruits. They've not had a great deal of training. However, the dwarf who's shouting at them obviously has like a fair amount of combat experience from the advice he's giving them. But it's obvious to you that they must be on like their first day or two's like training.
Okay, so I'm going to back up his instructions. I'm going to go over to some of these recruits, and I'm going to like physically grab one. No, your arm goes up here. And this one, I'll kick their leg forward. No, up here, you're off balance, and that kind of thing.
As you start doing this, the scarred dwarf sort of pushes his way through these recruits, so like pushing something, get out of the way, boy, and like pushes his way through. And he gets a bit close and he sort of like peers up at you, and he says, "I'd appreciate if you'd stop interfering with my lessons, sir."
I was helping with your lessons. They just weren't listening well.
At this point, can you make me a charisma roll, please?
Well, if it's to intimidate, I got something for that. Otherwise, I stink.
Your lessons suck. Fuck
Yeah. Okay.
you.
So that's like a -1 from that. So 3.
Okay. He looks at you and he says, "Well, that's as maybe, and I know of your fearsome reputation. However, I can't have people interfering in my lessons, so if you'll please allow my pupils to get back to it. After all, I have to get them trained. The Kavresh forbid should the orc hordes of the north descend on us again. They've got to be ready to man this fort."
If you want it to take twice as long, fine. Carry on with what you're doing.
You see a look of anger cross his face. And he says, "Look, if you want to get involved with training the recruits, I'm sure we could use their help. However, you'll need to speak to Lord Duskthane about it."
Yes. As I said, it wasn't anything to do with your instructions. It's them.
Well, yes,
You don't got much to work with here.
I agree with you there. We only get the dregs, unfortunately. I back in my days in the Dwarven Expeditionary Forces, I wouldn't have accepted even one of these. But we have to make do with what we've got. More's the pity.
I wonder if this lord would be willing to pay for a skilled sword.
Well, let's damn well hope so. And he sort of leans in a bit close to you and he says, in a whispered voice, his recruits can't hear me, he says, "Personally, I wouldn't give any of these more than 5 minutes were the orc hordes of the north to descend on us this very day."
Put them in the front line. Use them tactically.
I agree. There's maybe 1 or 2 of them who show an inkling of promise, but I fear it'll be too little, too late.
Well, I'll speak to this lord.
Very well, and he goes back to instruct. "You lads, you lay about, get that arm up," and he goes back to instructing. Okay, the rest of you who have headed in, it's a square stone tower. There's a sort of staircase around the edge, sort of heading up. You can see the first floor of the building is occupied by what appears to be, it's effectively like a barracks room. There's some of the dwarves you recognise from like the group that you came back with. They're sort of sat around. Some of them are like polishing weapons. Some of them are sharpening blades. There's a couple of others who are doing like normal sort of day-to-day tasks. There's a few like servants milling around. A couple of them look up and nod as you come in.
I sort of look
Where's
at
your lord at?
I sort of look at Rufus, be like, "Well, go find out go find out who's from that town." Don't look at me. I'm not very good at people.
Surely the Flamers will tell you who they are, right?
Would you let that go? It was one time, and I was really hungry.
I'm just saying, if you can always get your answers from the fireplace, then
It's not always clear. I try not to use the salamander's fire very often. All right.
you just can't help yourself.
Just go find a man.
It's fine
Yeah,
if
I'm
you lie to
asking
me,
people.
Sanya. It's fine lying to me.
Where's
but
your
don't lie
lord
to
at?
yourself.
Glarg just walks in and he's like, "Where's the lord at?" A couple of the dwarves look up at you and they say, "Lord Duskthane's quarters are just below the summit of the tower." And they sort of jerk their thumb in the direction of the staircase. Although he's currently preparing for a meeting this evening with his commanders, so I'm not certain he'll want to be disturbed.
How many
see
people
us.
are like in this hall, this immediate area?
There's like 6 people in this area.
Okay. This is like where all the recruits are and stuff, and in between. And things like that, right?
Looking
It's like
around
the
with your
barracks.
sort of warrior's eye, these seem to be the slightly sort of older members of the guard here. whereas you think most of the newer recruits are the ones like getting like drilled out back.
So I'd like to walk towards where I think like the most populated, crowded area is in this place, like where the majority of them are, or a good lot of them anyway.
Yep.
When I get there, I'm just going to go, anyone here from Pond Mount?
One of them sort of like chuckles a bit and he says, no, not me. Galamete, born and bred. And another person's like, no. He says, some of the recruits out back are, though. Well, I say recruits.
I know. I don't care about his opinion. I know I could find these other recruits he's referring to.
Okay, you think he's talking about the people
Who's from
you saw?
Pond Me?
You think he's
Mount.
talking about the people you saw like doing the combat practice behind the tower?
All right, I'm back there.
And we're probably going to head towards where Duskvane is.
Okay, so
Unless someone else is to say.
Is anyone? So we've got Sanya going upstairs to like try and see Lord Duskvane. We've got Glog going round the back to like speak to these recruits that are potentially from Pond Mount. Who's going with Glog? Who's going with Sanya? Or is someone going elsewhere?
I'm going with Sanya. Surprise, surprise.
Ugh.
What about Rufus and Milo?
Going with Sanya, probably.
Yeah, I follow them into the keep, and then I wander off to find the kitchen.
Okay. So you guys head up to the quarters like below the sort of like the top battlements of this tower, effectively. And as you're going through the corridor outside, you can see there's like a large wooden door, presumably leading into like Lord Duskvane's quarters. You can hear like a number of voices talking just beyond the door, but it's quite a thick door, so you can't really hear what they're saying.
All right, time to take charge at the moment and try and be assertive. And I'm going to go to the door and I'll open it.
Okay, you open the door, and in the room you can see there's like a large table with like maps spread out on it. Lord Duskvane is sat behind the table like a very ornate-looking chair, and there's 4 other dwarves sort of like stood around the table, all sort of like looking over this map, and obviously like in conversation with Lord Duskvane. As you enter, he looks up from the map, and like you see like a look of anger on his face, so he's about to go, "The fuck do you think you're doing, barging into my
Yeah, the fuck's wrong with you?
And then he like sees it's you guys, and his look softens a bit, although he still looks a little bit sort of infuriated. He sees Milo stood there, and he says, my small friend, we're not yet ready to give you audience to the meeting of the Thanes."
I look at him and go, sorry, we're in a bit of a hurry. The land is sick, and I need you to tell me something very important.
He sighs a little bit. You see like the bristles on his beard like moving, and then he says, very well, what is it you need to know?
I was looking into what's changed in this town the last few weeks, and you've had a few recruits from Portsmouth. What's it called?
Pond Mount.
Portsmouth. Pondmount recently. Did something happen to them when they got here? Something new, something different, something out of the ordinary?
Not as far as I'm aware. Ham Eggs drilling them out the back now, putting them through initial combat practices. Why?
Because their town is suffering from the same thing as this is. The land is sick. Your bread is rotten. Your eggs are cracked, and they come up with strange green goo. You probably don't have enough food to survive the winter at this rate. If we don't find what this is, and if we don't kill it right now.
A sort of beardless dwarf who has like a moustache and like long flowing white hair says, "See, my lord, it is as I told you. These problems are spreading far throughout the land. You've heard of the blight on the crops in Pond Mount. I told you that it wasn't a simple matter of the normal ebb and flow of things." At which point, Lord Duskvane holds up his hand and he says, That's well and good, Cabral, but our first thought has to be for Galenmeet. We can't afford to let our vigilance fail. Even though we've not seen an attack for nigh on 10 years, we have to remain vigilant. That's our job here at Galenmeet. He turns to look at you, Sanya, and he says, what you say is grave indeed and very troubling, but I cannot spare men to leave Galenmeet at this time.
If you don't spare men to look into this in Gallon Meat, you're not going to have any men in Gallon Meat for when the orcs attack. You don't have anything left. Everything is being rotten. The land is sick. How many times do I have to keep saying this?
Lord Dustain sort of looks at you and he sighs again and he says, "That's very well, but I'm a warrior. How can I fight a sickness? Give me an enemy I can fight, an enemy I can sink my axe into."
The sickness must have a cause. Something that started it up. Something that came from that town that you were talking about earlier, whose name I can never pronounce properly.
Poundland.
That's why I wanted to see the recruits. Maybe they know something. It must have started somewhere.
Make me a charisma roll.
Oh boy, here we go. Believe in yourself, Lloyd. And the dice love me today. That's an 11.
Cute.
Okay, he says, it is possible that something has been brought up from Pondmount, and I agree it does need investigating, but I simply do not have the manpower to do it myself.
Fine, I'll do it. Oh, what the heck? I wasn't doing anything this weekend anyway. Just give me a target. Tell me where to go. We'll find it. We'll sort out your problems for you. Just like we always do.
You notice like a few of the sort of dwarven thanes around the table sort of bristle a bit when you say that. They're obviously like proud dwarven warriors, and you just being like, "Bitch, please, I'll sort out all your problems." So a few of them like frowning and sort of like glaring at you as you say that.
I mean, if they want to go, like, I'm ready at this point in time. I don't give a damn. I'll take them all on. So as they glare towards me, I'll look back at them in a sort of like a "come at me, bro" sort of way. Like, I will sort out your problem for you. I do not have time to be sitting in rooms staring at maps and worry about other thing that's happening elsewhere that I can't do anything about. Give me a place, give me the resources, tell me what to do, it'll be done. I've already proven myself twice. Must I do it a third?
Lord Dustain like slams both of his like gauntleted hands down on the table and like stands up, like pushing the table back a couple of inches, and he says, "Do you not think if I had a target and I knew what was causing this sickness, then I would have already dealt with it? I do not know what is causing this sickness you speak of. I had no idea about it until your small friend mentioned it to me earlier on today."
I've been in this town for nearly a day and I've already figured out more than you know. Maybe your time has passed, old man.
Okay.
Rufus is going to take like a half step back towards the door.
As you say this, Lord Duskthane just like with one hand just like flips this fucking like table out the way, so there's like nothing between you and him, and he takes a step forward and he was like, "If it were not for the service that you had already done for my village, your blood would stain the floor of this chamber."
I'm about to. Should I push this as far as I go? I look at him and I go, "That's the kind of attitude the people of this town need right now. Not a man behind a desk. Now give me my damn job and be done with it."
At which point he takes a couple of steps forward. You can see like all of like the sort of dwarven thanes, these like veteran like dwarven warriors. That's like all of them have got like their hands on their weapons, like ready for like if it goes down, they're like ready to back up Lord Duskthane. And he takes a few steps forward and he's like, "I do not know what is causing this sickness. I cannot think of any plainer way to explain this to you. Perhaps your ears are too far from the ground to hear what I'm saying."
Don't push, Lloyd. Don't push it. Don't push it. Don't push it. Don't push it. Fine. I'm going to go do some investigations on my own. I'll let you know when I find something. And with that, I'm going to find. I'll let you know when I do find something, eventually. And I'll turn around. I'll storm on out there.
Okay. The rest of you have gone with him. See Sanya turn around and like storm out. As he does so, Lord Dusthane just like whoops his axe out from his belt, turns around, and he just like hits this massive chair that he's been sat on once, like letting out like a grunt of frustration, and he pretty much like cleaves this massive like chair in two with like one mighty blow.
I must humbly apologize for his fiery temper, if you'll excuse me.
The flames, they speak to him. Sometimes he is rash.
He turns, as you speak, Dirk, he turns round to you and says, your human appears to have forgotten that I am the ruler of Gallenmeet. I suggest you not let him forget it again in my presence.
Yes, my lord. And I hurry out.
And then as you sort of hurry out, you hear Rufus going, oh, he sees things in the flames. Lord Dusthane just looks at you, Rufus, and he's like, get out.
Yes, my lord.
Then they sort of leave. You're still in the room, Milo. What are you doing? Like for
He's a
Milo
bit
to be like,
confused.
did anyone mention the land's sick?
Why don't you make like a tree and leave?
I'm going to make like a tree and get the fuck out of here.
No, he's kind of confused again with this human interaction.
As you're sort of stood there, you see. Like,
Please tell me
Lord
Milo
Dusthane
cuts another chair in half.
He goes to sit down, and then he sees it. Like obviously, he's chopped his own chair in half in his like anger, and he sighs. All the rest of like the Thanes are like, Lord Dusthane, just calm down. You need a clear head for dealing with the challenges ahead. And one of them like snaps their fingers, and like one of the servants emerges, and he's like, "Please fetch Lord Dusthane a new chair." Which the servants like, "Oh yes, of course, Thane," and sort of heads off to do that.
I approached the table where they're all sitting.
Okay. You can see that Lord Dusthane sort of like he's like, and he's like obviously stood up because he's cleaved his chair in half, and he's like stood there like leaning with one of his hands on the table.
They're kind of strange. It's kind of like foxes playing with rabbits. They are strange, but they do have. They're very good in a fight, and he looks at the dwarven lord.
Lord Duskthane's size and his like frame seems to sag a little bit, and there's a slightly sort of sorrowful hint to his expression now. He turns around and says, my small friend, I have no doubt of your friend's abilities in combat or their worthiness in that regard. I've seen all of the things you've done for Gallenmeet, and I am deeply grateful. However, as I said to your friend, I am not a wizard. I'm not a great druid. I'm a simple warrior. I was chosen to lead this place when Lord Gallen died 10 years ago, and I've done my best to do so. However, I am a warrior. I fight for what I know, and I kill enemies that I can see. I do not know how to deal with this sickness. I'm not a medical man. I'm no apothecary. I'm no priest. I'm just a simple man who is trying to do the best he can.
Milo just not. Well, I think. I know you said you didn't have this coin to spare, but it seems like they think about this coin a lot. They talk about this coin a lot. It seems to be very important, this coin. So,
what is it you're trying to say?
well, maybe you would have, instead of arming these men you said were useless, you can take some and give to Rufus and Sanya, and they will say, "Yay, we got coin," and they will. I'm not sure what coin does for them, but they seem very keen to getting coin.
Lord Dusthane looks up at the dwarf with the shocking like mane of white hair, and he says, "Lord Snowmane, give the halfling some coin." At which point the white-haired dwarf sort of opens his mouth to protest. Lord Dusthane like raises a hand to stop him, and says, "Whatever you have on you." At which point, sort of grumbling like loud, I'm going to fucking hobbling some fucking coin. This dwarf like reaches into his belt pouch, pulls out a leather pouch with twine around it, throws it on the table in front of you, Milo, and there's like a loud chink as it hits the table.
Oh yeah.
Milo takes the pouch and thank you. I think they'll be glad about this. And he heaves the coin purse and goes out.
Okay, you make your way out. Meanwhile, we're going to jump to Glog, who has gone around the back of the tower where these recruits are still being trained.
So I'm going to walk up to this dwarf trainer. Are these men from Pondmount?
He says 3 of them are, yes. Those 3 over there.
They could be infected.
He sort of raises one bushy eyebrow and says,
There's some kind of plague or sickness going around in Pondmount.
"You 3 there, over here at the double." And these sort of like 3 raggedy ass looking like humans come like trotting over. They're wearing sort of like piecemeal armor, obviously whatever they could throw together out of their sort of spares at the fort, not wanting to give them the good stuff. They're holding these like wooden practice swords. They sort of huff over. One of them's quite fat. He's sort of breathing quite heavily as they trot over. You see the scarred dwarf peering at them, and he says, "Well, they don't look sick, but it's sometimes difficult to tell with humans."
You might want to keep them apart from the rest for a day or so until you know for sure.
Good idea.
Couldn't hurt.
The 3 of you report to the apothecary. Tell him I sent you. I want him to
And if
check
you
you
don't-
out and pronounce you fit for duty. Until then, get out of my sight.
And if you know anyone else from Pondmount, they got to join you.
What? You heard him, that they sort of look at him and they're like, "Sir," as you say that, Glog, and he's like, "You heard what the massive human said."
Yeah, I will glower or intimidate to hammer home his point.
And the 3 of them sort of trot off in the direction of this apothecary's hut.
So I did my end. I'm going to assume they got coin on their end, so I'm going to go marching back in.
Okay, as you sort of
Hope the speech is over.
as you sort of start marching back in, the scarred dwarf says, Wait a moment. You don't seem to be wearing the garb of any of the clans that I know of, stranger. Tell me, where do you hail from?"
I'm from Snowcrest to the north, the Isle of Altus.
He says, "Well, I've heard of that. They have ice worms there, don't they?"
I pat at some of the hide I'm wearing. This came from one. As did this, and I show him a scar on my neck, or rather a big mark on my chest. It's almost like a burned circle on my chest.
He nods and you hear like a sort of tut of approval. He's like, and then he says, "Tell me, is it true what they say about the blood of ice worms?" And at this point, Glog, what do they say about the blood of ice worms from your homeland?
They're boiling at all times. In order to combat the cold and keep their organs alive and stuff like that in this extreme cold, they're actually very, very hot internally. And that's why I have a burn mark. And it's not like from extreme cold, but rather from extreme heat.
Okay, splendid. You may mark yourself an XP.
Excellent.
Okay, so Glog heads around the front of the tower at about the same time you guys are emerging. Obviously, Sanya first, but you all sort of congregate in front of the tower.
I take a deep breath and I go, "All right, we're going to Pondmount.
Yes, we are.
It's our best bet. It's the
That's what I've been
nearest station
saying.
there. Figure it out from that onwards. We'll go tomorrow.
However,
We might
there
want
without
to
any
take some
coin,
sort of.
which was the
They'll
idea.
pay us. Someone wants this done.
As you're saying
Someone
this, the door to the tower like creaks open, and you see like Milo with this like what to him looks like a comically like oversized like leather pouch, but it's actually just like a sort of normal sort of leather, like purse-sized leather pouch that he comes like struggling out with.
I go over to Rufus and kind of like lift it up to him.
I point at Rufus, and like I slowly start to smile, and I point at Milo. Little one, did you talk him into giving you all that coin? And I look at Rufus, starting to grin wider.
Rufus just sort of like opens up the bag as I look inside.
You open up the bag, and you quickly estimate using your thief skills that there are 50 coins in this pouch.
He closes the bag.
Milo,
He opens
did
it
you talk
again.
him into giving you that?
Well, it seems important to you. Is this enough?
It'll do.
I point at Rufus. You really could learn from that young one.
So could you, Sanya. That's what happens when you treat our Lord with respect. Not ill.
I turn towards Dirk, and I go, I don't need you to be telling me what to do. Thank you very much. And also, while on the subject, Glog, I don't think people in glass houses. No, wait, that still doesn't make any sense. I don't think you should make a piss out of him either. It's not his fault. He just can't seem to talk to important people very well, right? Rufus, you're having a bad day, right? Rufus.
Yet he claims skill with that. No, has he not made boasts about being skillful at such a thing?
And you claim
Can you
skill
not see how hugely embarrassed he must
perfect.
be right now? How is that not funny to you?
Because not even you are perfect at your acts. If I do recall, someone had to kill that Minotaur, right? And I don't particularly recall you doing it at the time as you were being impaled. Now let's not talk about other people's weaknesses and just focus on our strength, shall we?
Are you questioning my battle skills? I get right in his face.
I look at him, I'm like, I am not questioning anything. All I am questioning is that you get out of my face before I lose my temper.
We will go to this place, but we want to take some sort of protection against diseases or illnesses first. Some sort of salves or creams. I don't know.
That's what we'll get from the apothecary. Let's go there now, get as much as we can. Tomorrow, we head out.
Rufus
There were
is
3 recruits from there.
all
They're
these like
now.
words are just flowing over Rufus's head while he's staring at Milo, going, "Can he turn into a merchant?" Like that's what he's thinking. He's like, "I've never seen him do this." And he's crying.
Wait a minute, maybe he is the bag of coins.
Yeah.
Milo's everywhere. He's everything.
That's part of the badger form. That's you get +4 on a negotiation.
Wow.
Badger form is the best form.
It is the best form.
So you guys make your way over to the apothecary's hut. Like I said, there's garlands of herbs, etc. As you get there, you can see the old apothecary is actually out the front, and he's looking at these 3 sort of scrawny human youths, and he seems to be sort of like checking them over. Basically, obviously you recognise them, Glog, as the 3 Pond Mount recruits.
Don't touch them.
No, I wouldn't do. He says as you approach it. It almost appears.
I'm saying it
like,
to my friends.
Yeah, he's just sort of like the apothecary's just sort of responding absent-mindedly. He's sort of peering at these people with like interest. Occasionally, sort of like telling them to like stick out their tongue or like lift their arm up and stuff like that. And he's like peering at them.
What do you have that can protect against whatever they have?
If they have it, do they have it?
Well, they appear a little malnourished. They don't look to be in the best of health, but I can't see anything obviously wrong with them. Although it's difficult without coming into physical contact with them. I will
turn to Milo. Show him the egg.
I take out the little pouch I have and pull out an egg, and
Okay.
hand it to him.
Okay, you hand it to him. He takes it and says, "Well, thank you very much, my young friend. But I've already breakfasted this morning."
No,
I reach out and grab his fist and squeeze it just enough to break the egg.
Okay, you squeeze it and you see this sort of like greeny grey like goo sort of running from between his fingers.
That is what's happening to food.
He peers at his hand with all this like slime encrusted on the inside
Yeah.
of it, and you see him like takes a sniff of it, and he says, "Well, this
Seems
this
to come from Panma, where they're from.
this is,
But not the egg.
this,
The
this,
sickness.
this might this might explain what happened with their crops. We do get a lot of our animal feed from Pond Mount, perhaps from the husks of the wheat, etc. Perhaps this is what's causing the blight on their crops. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. I'm going to have to investigate this further." And you see him sort of like he heads into his hut, and sort of like through the open door you can see him like scraping the goo off his hand into like a small wooden bowl with like a tiny like knife.
Yeah.
And then you see him sort of like washing his hands in a jug of water.
I'll look at the three of them and go, this thing that we've just shown you, the egg cracking, was that happening in your town when you left?
Not as far as I'm aware, but I've not been there. I've not been there for some time. When I was last there, they were simply complaining that their yields of crops were low and that the grain had an unhealthy look to it.
Had something changed in the town recently before you left when they started complaining about that? Some new practice, someone else coming in?
Well, now you mention it, there had been I know the town guard were in such as they are in Pond Mount. They were in something of an uproar about a number of people disappearing over the last couple of weeks before I'd been there.
All right. Anything else other than that? Like any more details when they started disappearing, at least?
I don't know the exact details. The guards weren't very keen to spread a panic, but a friend of mine who was an old recruit from a Gallon meet who moved to the guard at Pond Mount told me that they'd found the body of one of these people in a small pond next to the town. He seemed quite shook up about it, though he wouldn't really tell me any further details.
I turn to Sanya. How do I fight a pond?
I'm sure someone with your caliber of incredible stubbornness can find a way.
You know, sometime I take your words as being not truthful. I might have to hurt you for them.
I sort of turn towards him and I sort of look him up properly for the first time, and I go, "You know, Glog, sometimes I just don't know how to deal with you. You
got your wish, didn't you? We're going to this place. We're going to fix the land.
Yes.
And yet you still complain and whine.
You just asked me how to fight a pond. I'm not quite sure what reply you wanted from me for. I mean, I don't have all the answers. I can't stare into the fire.
Let's get on with it.
I'm just saying.
Indeed. We are wasting time.
I imagine when he says, "Oh, I can't stare into the fire for that," you got like Rufus in the background going, "Oh, here we fucking go."
I'm gonna take out some of that wine I got from the guy and start drinking it. Cause
it's
getting annoyed and bored.
Wine.
So Milo looks up at him. So can we leave now? You have the coin.
Yes, we've got the coin.
We have the coin.
Let's
Maybe
go.
we should at least sleep on it, like go out in the morning.
We don't have enough. If we're gonna eat, we might not have food. Oh wait, there's still some rations. Let's buy some rations and go tonight. Let's not waste time.
I
do not-
agree.
I cannot approve of this course of action. Traveling by night is a risky endeavor, but
The fact that
as it
he's
is
been tasted
proven
is
that
risky.
Milo knows what he's doing, so I'll defer to his wisdom.
Am I gonna have to do with everyone else being sarcastic today? Is this what this is? Dirk, are you going to start?
Did the flames tell you that sarcasm was in your future?
Oh, don't you start with me!
I was being genuine, my fiery friend. I agree that we should go sooner rather than later.
Thank you. I appreciate someone, even if it's you.
Yeah, let's do what
being
Karesh
on my
wants to do.
side. Oh, don't you start with me, boy! I will burn you. I swear.
What is the advantage of traveling at night? We
If
will
we can
have to rest some point.
I don't like being in this town. It's that simple. I don't like being in this town.
It's probably because you've ticked off most of the people in it by this point.
Are you really gonna start this up?
I thought we talked about keeping a low profile, Sanya. Not antagonizing first the priest, then the mayor, burning a hole in the tavern.
That wasn't on purpose. I was trying to save that man.
As this is going on, Glog, you hear the voice of like your dwarven follower next to you. Dowd, she says, "Is this sort of thing normal?"
What?
Normally we
Yes.
get a lot less.
Often I'm surrounded. Well, they have their uses, but you'll often meet people in the field that are incompetent or weak. You have to learn to be patient.
Oh, I see.
So I go, if you guys want to stay tonight, we can stay tonight. I don't see why we shouldn't then. Fine, let's stay tonight.
I mean, mostly predators move at night and prey move during the day.
We'll travel at first light.
I'm not
It's
a
settled
coward,
then.
Milo. I'm just sensible.
Fine, first light, but speed is everything. You must be ready
Like
to
Milo
leave.
said, predators move at night, prey moves at day. Let's stay till tonight. Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess we'll head back to the tavern at the rooms we secured and crash there.
Okay, you head back to the inn. When you get back to the tavern, you find out that the tavern keeper, since Lord Duskday had ordered him to give you some food, he set aside a pack of 5 rations for each of you.
Oh, food again. Yeah.
Out of his like dried supplies, since he's like, obviously I can't rely on my fresh food, but I've got like a lot of jerky and stuff like laid in for the winter months. I'd rather have kept it for myself, but Lord Duskday said I've got to give you some fucking food.
Okay, even
Your
though
generosity is appreciated.
Milo doesn't need to eat, he will still take his because his companions need to eat.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Feel free to mark down 5 rations on your character.
John?
sheets, guys.
Right, I'm not trying to screw over Dennis's character, but I just want to point out something, right? If he's eating from the land, right?
Yeah.
And the land is sick,
Yeah, I thought that too.
is that going to have an effect on Milo? I mean, apart from the usual, like,
The usual fact that he's hallucinating and seeing himself fly into the air.
is he not normally this diplomatically acute?
Well, he might not have eaten sickened food yet.
Yeah. He might.
I'm guessing it's some sort of photosynthesis or something like that.
He sort of like absorbs energy from the land rather than like eating from the land.
Druids, man.
Maybe you'll find out if it has any adverse effect on him in the future. You've not noticed any
It's like
adverse effect on
Superman
him.
and
So
Yellow
far.
Sun.
Yeah, pretty
2
much.
weeks later.
So we each get 5 rations.
Indeed.
I'll take that. Fucking hell, we can eat again. Oh, thank God.
Would you mind making sure this beef jerky is well done, Sanya?
Pass it over. It's well done.
Okay, so as he passes it over and says, "Can you make sure this jerky's well done?" And there's like a, "It's well done," and it's passed back to him. That is where we are going to, as the night begins to fall, that is where we are going to bring this session to a close. So since you guys have effectively made camp, any of you have enough XP to level up, can do so.
I'm 1 XP away.
Well, we
Is that what-
haven't given out XP for the session yet, so I wouldn't panic.
1 XP away. Didn't you level up at last?
I did, but I had so much XP because last session I was 1 XP away, and I gained that much XP last session for all my failed rolls.
Damn.
I failed a lot.
I need to fail more rolls.
Yeah, that happened to me in the first session. I failed like 4 rolls in a row.
I was really awesome, but no one got to saw it. At the
Got to
start of the
saw
session.
it.
At the start of the session.
Clark was impressed with the way you handled that guy. You know,
Thanks.
took care of your own problem. So there's that.
That was it. Bosh, poisoned to dealt with.
Done.
Jobs are good. Okay.
I just love the fact that I've spent the entire session trying to solve problems and Milo just wanders in and goes, done.
Done and
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense. Clark would try and embarrass you for it. So
It's hilarious.
It's okay. I got your back, even if you're being a sarcastic bitch.
You're the one that keeps saying, "Oh, I don't want to worship my god, but I'm going to look into these flames and look for advice."
Well, I didn't do it on purpose. It came to me. Like I said, the flame. I can't help the way I work.
It's like dialing a helpline and not wanting to talk.
Okay.
You know why you're here.
So, guys, in terms of XP, obviously you've all got your XP marks that you made for failing rolls during the session. Once your bond, do you have any bonds that you think you've actually resolved? Any of you?
Nope.
Actually, I added one.
I mean, I'm going to say I have Mile Thistle and me having a con running. I mean, if him not like managing to like procure all these things while I try to is not a con, I don't know what is.
Would you agree that that bond has been resolved, Dennis?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, in which case you can mark an XP and remove that bond, Matthew. You now need to write a new bond, which can be whatever you want, with whichever character you wish.
Okay. Ooh.
Mine are very strange. I mean, I have one. Rufus smells more like prey than a hunter.
Yeah,
And so far,
so when Rufus like mans up and he's like, oh no, he's not prey, he's like kicking it old school. You can like go. Oh,
Do you mean like that time that I managed to get over being like in a death-defying situation, which no one apart from Glag saw?
Yeah, that's the thing.
I didn't even see that part. I just saw the aftermath
Since
and
they
heard
didn't
your
witness
version.
it, he can't really cross it out because it's his opinion of you. Okay, so I'll leave you to write a new bond up, Matthew.
New bond.
Okay. Now, obviously, you can also get an XP for your alignment as well. It tells you what you get XP for under your alignment.
I get none of that.
So I'm going to go through each of you in turn. Just read out what it says you get XP for on your alignment space, and if you think you've done it. So, Dennis.
no, eliminate an unnatural menace, and he hasn't done this.
Okay. Lloyd.
Exchange a sacrifice for a service render. Didn't do that.
Okay. Matthew.
Avoid detection or infiltrate a location. I don't think so in this case.
Okay. Rob.
No, I didn't crush any enemies or make any of the women lament their passing.
Jay.
And I have not carved out my own path per se.
Okay. So no XP for the alignments. Now we get the 3 group questions. So, did you learn something new and important about the world?
Yes.
Sanya is a hothead.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, so you all get 1 XP from that.
Woo!
Did you overcome a notable monster or enemy?
No.
No.
I would say no.
Okay, so no XP for that. Did you loot or obtain a memorable treasure?
No.
Does doubt count?
I got some sweet new daggers.
Do you know what, Rob? Yeah,
All right.
you can all have an XP.
Yay!
Because Rob has effectively just by flexing his pecs acquired a follower, and that's pretty significant. Okay, so anyone who has XP equal to or greater than your current level plus 7 can level up.
Oh yeah.
I do. Can you remind me what happens, like going from level 2 to 3 right now? If it matters.
Yeah,
So you
you increase your level by 1. You subtract your current level plus 7 from your XP.
Got that.
You choose a new advanced move from your class.
It's
Okay.
+8. It's
Yeah.
currently level +8.
And you choose
And do
you choose one of your stats and increase it by 1. They can't go higher than 18.
Right, with a max of 18. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And likewise for anyone else who wants to do that. And has the
And
XP.
then I get to pick a new move.
I'm behind on level 2.
What move do the flames tell you to pick, Lloyd?
Oh, will you stop it?
Oh, behave.
I don't know what to go for. Ugh, I hate this.
Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire.
I've taken Law of Flame.
I want to take a bond that represents me trying to like teach Milo Thistle about the world. You know, because that's what I feel like I've been trying to do. Teach him. I don't know how to word that.
I'll take that.
Well, I'd suggest it'd probably more to like teach him about the sort of civilized world.
Yeah.
So yeah, just write it down as something like that. Like, I want to teach Milo Thistle all about the big wide world or something.
But it has to be something that I can achieve. Like, it has to be something that I can tick off eventually.
Yeah. Well,
So it can't be too broad.
Well, obviously, when you get to a point where you're like, oh, that Milo seems to be like capable and like able to like just like blend in civilized society, you're like, yeah, that bond's been dealt with.
But Milo Thistle
I mean, good luck with it.
about civilized laws, maybe. Yeah.
Personally, one of my favourite bits of the session was Milo trying to like lift Rufus up by his lapels. He thought that's how you say hello.
Me thinking that he's off his tits.
I want to add a bond that says something like Rufus has a background I should find out more about.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because he kind of revealed some. Oh, I didn't realize he was.
Yeah, that's fine. Feel free to add it.
Okay.
I really
Yeah,
want
like
it to
that.
be like a court case in this world. Like we have to go like prove our innocence or something, and then at the critical moment, Milo Thistle's going to walk in with like the key piece of evidence.
Massive
Like,
white
here's
wig.
the evidence.
Yeah.
Da, 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 like fucking Strike music starts playing in the background.
I imagine.
Yeah, the judge is just about to pronounce the verdict, and then he comes in. Just a
Objection.
I imagine he walks in and he's like, wait a minute, Milo Thistle for the defence, sticks like a big briefcase down, pops it open, gets out his like big stack of like legal papers, and then he's like, I would like to bring a matter to the attention of the jury, and the judge is like, I'll allow it, and he's like, the land is sick. Just closes the case.
Case closed.
Well, I hope that session was okay for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. Thank
Oh
you.
no, I am not here in the next week, so you guys have to go without me.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
It'd be like the flames
let
tell
me
me
know
I
how-
should be really quiet and fade into the background during this session.
I hate all of you. I don't know why that's a thing. Like the first time I used this move, and y'all have to go at me about it because of fucking Rufus.
I think Rufus is just deflecting. He's like, oh, they're not taking the piss out of me for once. Yeah, you tell them, guys. Yeah. Okay, so I'm quite happy to chat for a bit, guys, but I'm going to end the broadcast
Go for it,
momentarily.
so I can get back to actually doing some work because I need to make sure I do.